Chapter 844. The living creature looked very strange. Its lower body was like a snake, but it also looked like a fish. Its upper body had 2 dragon claws, and its head looked like a dragon's, but it didn't have horns. It was a very strange creature. It lay quietly in the grave. For some reason, Tyrant Behemoth stood outside the pit and stared at it as though it had been possessed. Zhou Wen's heart stirred as he summoned the golden battle god Halberd and got it to attack the monster in the grave. However, when the golden battle god Halberd approached the grave, it lost control and landed beside the grave. Zhou Wen hurriedly sent several companion beasts over, but the outcome was the same. As long as they approached the grave, they would stand there motionless as though they had been possessed. Be it animals or weapons, all companion beasts look the same. The dimensional creatures in this fiend tomb are really strange. First, it was the ghoul mask, and now it's such a monster. Their abilities are so strange. Zhou Wen thought for a moment before summoning Truth Listener and getting it to go to the grave. However, Truth Listener didn't stand there in a daze. It tore open 2 earrings and grabbed the monster with its claws, tearing it into 2. When the monster wanted to resist, it was already too late. It died a violent death, and only then did Tyrant Behemoth and the other companion beasts regain their clarity of mind. Thankfully, I have enough companion beasts, and their abilities are complete. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be able to do anything to this fiend tomb, Zhou Wen thought. Killed mythical creature, Ghost Hornless. The game notification popped up. Another mythical creature. What's hiding below? Could it really be a Ba? Zhou Wen wondered how strong it would be if it was really a Ba. After eliminating Ghost Hornless, Zhou Wen ordered Tyrant Behemoth to continue digging. He wanted to see if there was a Ba in the fiend tomb today. Tyrant Behemoth received the order and continued digging. Not long after, the fiend stones emitted a scorching aura. The deeper it went, the hotter the fiend stones became. Later on, the fiend stones turned into magma. Tyrant Behemoth wasn't afraid of the magma as it sucked it into its stomach. As the magma vanished, something gradually appeared beneath. Zhou Wen finally saw an item that wasn't a fiend stone. It was a black metal that was forged into the shape of a bed. There was a canopy over the bed, and a transparent veil hung down. The magma formed by the magic stones was blocked by the veil and was unable to invade the bed. And on that bed, there was actually a peerless beauty sleeping there. She merely closed her eyes and slept there, yet she was already incomparably beautiful. It was truly hard to imagine how beautiful she would be if she were to open her eyes. The woman was dressed in red, which accentuated her seductive figure. Even though the game was cartoonish in style, it was still very provocative. If they were in reality, he wondered how sexy and alluring she would be. However, Zhou Wen wasn't in the mood to admire her beauty. His expression was still solemn because he sensed a familiar aura from this woman. That aura wasn't that of a dimensional creature, but the aura of a guardian. However, typical guardians were in cocoons, but this woman was sleeping on the bed. This could only mean one thing. She had long broken out of the cocoon. According to what Zhou Wen knew, a guardian couldn't break out of a cocoon just by being strong enough. Unless someone forcefully broke the guardian's cocoon or someone contracted him. No matter how strong a guardian was, they couldn't break out of the cocoon by themselves. Now that this woman wasn't in the cocoon, it could only mean that she had already contracted a human or that someone had forcefully opened the cocoon. The Zhang family has guarded the fiend tomb for so long. It's impossible for anyone to dig, open the fiend tomb, and contract a guardian. Then, there are only 2 possibilities. One is that the Zhang family is the one who contracted the guardian. The other possibility is that this woman is the same as the fellow in the log. They are both guardians from the previous era. As Zhou Wen thought of this, the woman on the bed suddenly opened her eyes. It wasn't as beautiful as Zhou Wen had imagined. It was a pair of crimson eyes. Although they didn't look ugly, they made one feel fear. They didn't have any of the gentleness a woman should have. Her crimson eyes stared coldly at Zhou Wen as though she was looking at a thief who dared disturb her dreams. Zhou Wen's heart chilled as cold sweat broke out on his back. A sense of danger arose in him. Suddenly, Zhou Wen recalled that he was still wearing the invisibility cloak. Since she could see him directly, Didn't that mean that the invisibility cloak was ineffective against her? Zhou chose to strike first. Tyrant Behemoth roared and charged at the woman on the bed. After it gigantified, its fist that was even bigger than the bed struck down violently, wanting to smash the bed and the woman into smithereens. However, before Tyrant Behemoth's fist landed, the woman on the bed had already sat up and lifted the transparent veil on the bed. The moment the veil was lifted, terrifying flames instantly filled the entire world. Before Zhou Wen could react, he saw flames fill the screen before the blood-colored avatar died. What the hell is this? A full-screen insta-kill? Zhou Wen opened the game dungeon and wanted to enter the Fiend Tomb to take a look, but the Fiend Tomb's program icon turned dark. There was no response when he clicked on it. There was a 24-hour countdown below. The meaning was obvious. He could only enter the Fiend Tomb dungeon again after 24 hours. Zhou Wen felt a little unsatisfied. It wasn't easy for him to find another guardian. This might be the opportunity for Slaughterer to advance to a perfect body. I have Banana Fairy. It's not impossible for me to restrain the Guardian's flames. I still have a chance to kill her. Zhou Wen thought again. There's actually a guardian in the Fiend Tomb. In that case, the Ba the Zhang family mentioned is actually a guardian. The more Zhou Wen thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. When he connected it to Ba's origins, Zhou Wen increasingly felt that she might be a guardian who had survived the previous battle of guardians. Now, Zhou Wen suspected that the battle between Yellow Emperor and Qiyu might have been a battle of guardians. There must have been many guardians participating back then. The former principal disappeared after studying the Zhuolu battlefield. The things he left behind seemed to be related to the Zhuolu battle. Could it be that the things left behind by the former principal can really give people a chance to defeat those guardians? Zhou Wen thought about the connection. He first grinded the other dungeons. It wasn't easy for him to last 24 hours before Zhou Wen entered the Fiend Tomb dungeon again. By then, the Fiend Tomb had already returned to its original state. Zhou Wen ordered Tyrant Behemoth to dig up the Fiend Tomb and lure the ghoul mask out. He held the golden Overlord sword and slashed at the face in the Fiend Tomb. However, just as the blood-colored avatar arrived in front of the Fiend Tomb, it collapsed and died on the spot. Zhou Wen couldn't help but be stunned as the game screen turned black. It would take another 24 hours to enter the Fiend Tomb. What the hell is this? I have to wait 24 hours just to die once? Isn't this dungeon too weird? Zhou Wen felt helpless. Chapter 845. Previously, I was fine after slashing the face in the grave while invisible. Now that I walked over directly, I immediately died. From the looks of it, that face has some tricks up its sleeve. However, it couldn't see me the last time I was invisible, so its ability wasn't triggered. Zhou Wen thought to himself. From the looks of it, it's rather difficult to crack the Fiend Tomb. The necessary companion beasts require Behemoth, Invisibility Cloak, and Truth Listener. If I want to kill the Guardian, I need companion beasts that can restrain flames. I need at least 4 top-notch mythical companion beasts. Where can the average person obtain these companion beasts? Even the Zhang family will probably find it difficult to produce them. It happens to be a companion beast that can restrain the mythical creature in the Fiend Tomb. However, there's probably no need to fight the Guardians to resolve the Zhang family's problem. All I need to do is kill the Ghoul Mask and Ghost Hornless. Just as Zhou Wen was thinking about how to help Zhang Yuji, she happened to call him. When did you come back? Zhou Wen asked. I just came back. Zhang Yuji's voice revealed her exhaustion before she said apologetically, Zhou Wen, I'm sorry. I'm afraid there will be some changes at the Earth Elemental Beast auction. Aren't you planning on auctioning the Earth Elemental Beast? Zhou Wen could understand. It was normal for the Zhang family to not be in the mood to hold an auction after such a huge incident. The auction will continue, and it will be held ahead of schedule. However, this auction won't require money. Whoever can resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb can take away the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg, Zhang Yuji said. I see. That's not a bad idea. Zhou Wen was delighted. He already had a certain understanding of the Fiend Tomb. Although he wasn't sure if he could resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb, it shouldn't be too much of a problem after a few more attempts. Resolving the Zhang family's problem didn't require him to kill the Guardian. He was still very confident, but he still needed to grind a few more dungeons to confirm it. It wouldn't be too late to participate in the auction after ensuring that there were no problems. I hope someone from the other families can resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb. Otherwise, our Zhang family will really be in danger. Zhang Yuji wasn't in a good mood, so she didn't chat much with Zhouwen. After saying her piece, she hung up. The auction will begin in 2 days. Time is a little tight, but it should be enough to confirm some things. Zhouwen had already made up his mind to take down the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. Ignoring the fact that he wanted to help Zhang Yuji, he had to take action just for the companion egg. However, I have to think of a way. I can't expose all my companion beasts. Zhouwen considered how he should handle this matter to prevent too many companion beasts from being exposed. After all, he needed too many companion beasts this time. At the very least, Tyrant Behemoth, Truth Listener, and Invisibility Cloak were necessary. When the Fiend Tomb dungeon opened again, Zhouwen eagerly stormed in. This time, Zhouwen strictly followed the procedure. Tyrant Behemoth dug up the grave to lure out the ghoul mask. Zhouwen turned invisible and went to the grave to kill the ghost face. Then, he dug out the ghost hornless and used Truth Listener to kill it. The entire process was perfect and there were no problems. Then, Zhouwen waited for a period of time to confirm that the fiend stones didn't increase, that the ghost face didn't appear, and that the companion beasts wouldn't be petrified again. No companion beasts walked towards the Fiend Tomb by themselves. Only then did he feel relieved. It wasn't easy for me to come here. I can't waste it. Next, let's see if Banana Fairy can restrain the Guardian's flames. Zhouwen got Tyrant Behemoth to continue digging. Soon, Tyrant Behemoth dug out the witch again. Just like last time, when the veil was lifted, the entire Fiend Tomb immediately burned with terrifying flames. However, this time, Banana Fairy was beside the blood-colored avatar. Just as the flames rose, Banana Fairy opened her cherry mouth and spat out the grand wind augmented by the 3 realms' best wind. In an instant, the flames that filled the screen vanished. The speed at which they extinguished made it seem as though the flames had never burned at all. Even the magma in the Fiend Tomb was extinguished by the grand wind, solidifying into rock. As for the metal bed and the witch, they were sent flying by the 3 realms' best wind. They tumbled into the distance and quickly became a black before disappearing. It was unknown how far they had been blown away, but it had already exceeded the extreme distance that could be seen in-game. As expected of the 3 realms' best wind. It's too powerful. Zhouwen was overjoyed. Even the Guardian couldn't withstand Banana Fairy's current blow. It was truly terrifying. Warning, warning. Goddess Ba transforms into terror form. Goddess Ba transforms into terror form. Just as Zhouwen was rejoicing, a red warning suddenly popped up in-game. It was like a warning light that constantly flashed, giving people a visual sense of danger. Terror form? What's that? Zhouwen was momentarily taken aback. He wondered if this terror form had anything to do with the god's terror grade. He remembered that the silver-haired companion beast had said that most of the mythical creatures that appeared on Earth were likely at the terror grade, but it hadn't mentioned any terror form. Just as Zhouwen was puzzled, he saw scarlet flames burn half the sky red. A red figure that resembled a ghost tore through the air at an unbelievable speed. Wherever the red figure went, everything around it turned into raging flames. Even the air and the mountains were set ablaze. As he was extremely far away, Zhouwen didn't manage to see the figure's appearance clearly in the beginning. However, she arrived so quickly that he could see her clearly in the blink of an eye. That was likely Goddess Ba, but the current Goddess Ba was very different from before. Right now, Goddess Ba's entire body was burning with a terrifying flame. This kind of flame didn't burn outside of her body, but her entire body. Every inch of muscle, every bone, and every tiny cell seemed to be burning with a bright red flame that was as red as blood. It was as though her entire body was condensed from flames. Her hair was like fire threads, and her eyes were like fire pupils. She was like a fiery demoness that had walked out of a myth. emitting a terrifying and dangerous aura. Due to her arrival, the entire valley burned. The river instantly dried up, and the ground turned crimson like purgatory. Zhou could sense that the strength in her was unimaginably terrifying. It was something he had never seen on any creature or companion beast. Tyrant Behemoth roared as it soared into the sky. Its huge fist struck at Goddess Ba, who was floating in midair. With the augmentation of absolute strength, its strike could collapse mountains. However, Goddess Ba only looked coldly at Tyrant Behemoth without any intention of attacking. Tyrant Behemoth's terrifying strike failed to touch her body. It didn't even shatter the flames outside Goddess Ba's body. The invisible flames held up its fist. Chapter 846. The flames on Goddess Ba's body surged as Tyrant Behemoth's huge body immediately transformed into a fireball. The terrifying flames rapidly burned its body. With Tyrant Behemoth's body's toughness, it couldn't withstand the flames. The entire valley had already fallen into a sea of fire. Due to Banana Fairy's Grandine Wind, she could barely prevent the blood-colored avatar from being burned by the flames. However, without the augmentation of the Three Realms' best wind, the Grandine Wind was clearly no match for the flames. It was rapidly being devoured by the flames. Seeing that Tyrant Behemoth was about to be burned to death, Zhou hurriedly summoned Torch Dragon Youngling and activated Bright Torch Vision World at Goddess Ba. However, what was reflected in Torch Dragon Youngling's eyes was a sea of fire. There was no sign of Goddess Ba. Goddess Ba stood there without being sucked into the Vision World. Holy *T, what's this? Even Bright Torch Vision World is useless? Is it because of the terror state? Zhou was alarmed. Before he could think further, the sea of fire had already devoured the blood-colored avatar, and the game screen went black. What a terrifying terror state. Is this the true power of a terror grade, mythical? Zhou felt that Goddess Ba was probably the most terrifying creature he had seen so far. Even the two guardians in Ant City and the Underground Sea aren't this terrifying. I wonder if those two have a terror state. Zhou guessed that they probably didn't have one. At the very least, he had never seen one before. If there was anyone else with a terror state, it was probably the log in Forbidden City. She might have a terror state. The newborn guardians who had yet to come out of the cocoon were relatively unlikely to have a terror state. How did this fear state come about? Can companion beasts have such a state? Zhou thought about it, but couldn't figure it out. He suddenly thought of the Dharch and thought to himself, could the Dharch also have a terror state? After some thought, Zhou sent a message to the Dharch. The Dharch, can I ask you a question? Are you a terror grade expert? He originally didn't expect the Dharch to reply to him, but to his surprise, the Dharch replied after a while. Not bad. You even know about the terror grade. What else do you know? You even know about the existence of a terror form. You should be in existence at that level, right? Zhou said after some hesitation. What's a terror state? To you humans, the terror grade is an invincible existence, but in front of me, the terror grade is trash. The Dharch said disdainfully, you must have encountered a fellow with a terror form. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to ask me. The Dharch is wise. Zhou flattered, hoping that the Dharch would say more. The Dharch didn't disappoint him and sent another message. In theory, a mythical creature with a terror form is considered a true mythical creature. However, not all mythical creatures can have a terror form. It depends on their bloodline talent and comprehension ability. Ordinary guardians can have a terror form as long as they constantly evolve in battle. However, for dimensional creatures, only the top ones can have a terror state. What's the terror state? Zhou asked. The Dharch replied, what do you think is the difference between the mythical stage and the ordinary epic and legendary stage? Basic stats and the Wheel of Destiny, Zhou said. The Wheel of Destiny can indeed allow mythical creatures to possess a powerful ability. But no matter how powerful it is, it's only an ability. It's actually not a qualitative difference. From the perspective of a dimensional life form, being able to transform into a terror form is an important symbol of distinguishing a creature's level. There's no division between legendary and epic creatures in the dimension because such creatures are too weak. They don't have the right to enter the division. There are only two ways to truly divide them: dimensional creatures that can transform into terror and dimensional creatures that can't. This can be considered the first division of the dimension. I still don't understand what kind of power the terror transformation is. Zhou still didn't understand. The arch added, "Of course you don't understand because that's the true mythical realm. You naturally won't understand since you haven't reached that realm. To put it simply, the so-called God is an indescribable object, an unknown object that makes humans feel fear. If humans can defeat creatures with strength, they won't be called gods. The terror state is an indescribable state. After the terror transformation, no matter how strong a mortal's strength is, it's impossible for them to injure a terror-transformed body. Only a terror state can defeat a terror state." "Then how can I transform into a terror form?" Zhou asked. "It's impossible for you humans to transform into a terror form unless you sign a contract with a guardian and use the guardian's power to advance to the mythical stage. Only then will you have the right to transform into a terror form," the arch said. "Why can't humans advance to the mythical stage?" Zhou couldn't understand why only humans couldn't advance to the mythical stage. "Let me make an analogy. Don't you humans have something called comics? The characters in those comics are called two-dimensional creatures by you, and you humans are three-dimensional creatures. Do you think no matter how powerful the characters in comics are, they can become three-dimensional creatures like humans? Of course, this is only an analogy. It's not completely accurate, but the actual situation isn't much different. Therefore, no matter how strong the characters in comics are, they can't injure three-dimensional creatures. As for three-dimensional creatures, they can easily destroy two-dimensional creatures. This is why only the terror grade can defeat the terror grade. This is because after the terror transformation, they are no longer existences on the same level. There's no comparison, the arch explained. Is there really no hope for humans? Zhou couldn't believe that humans couldn't advance to the mythical stage. At the very least, Xia Zhihuang had succeeded, although his methods were very cruel. The arch replied, "Of course there's hope. Contract with a guardian or fuse with a guardian like Wang Mingyuan. There are only two paths. I previously saw a human who successfully advanced to the mythical stage by himself," Zhou said. The Thearch's reply was filled with contempt. "You're talking about the one in Forbidden City, right? Do you think that if it wasn't for Purple Star Lord's help, he could have advanced to the mythical stage by relying on his human strength?" Zhou was slightly taken aback. Back then, Xia Zhihuang had indeed used the power in the wood to condense the last life providence and life soul. With the help of the purple lightning, he had advanced to the mythical stage. There are only two paths for humans. Have you considered which one you want to take? If you want to contract a guardian, I can help you contract an extremely powerful guardian. It's definitely not inferior to Purple Star Lord, the arch said. I still want to give it a try. I want to see if I can advance to the mythical stage with my own strength, Zhou said. Then take your time. It won't be too late to find me when your path ends in the future. The arch wasn't angry this time. She seemed certain that Zhou couldn't advance to the mythical stage with his own strength. Chapter 847. After waiting for 24 hours, Zhou entered the Fiend Tomb dungeon again. This time, he naturally didn't dare provoke Goddess Ba. All he did was remove the ghoul mask and ghost hornless before not attacking again. He maintained this state and observed for any other abnormalities in the Fiend Tomb. When Zhang Yuji invited him to participate in the so-called auction, there were no more problems with the Fiend Tomb. As long as he didn't continue digging, Goddess Ba wouldn't wake up. Originally, the auction was going to be held in Dragon Tiger Town, but now, it was changed to a temporary encampment near the Fiend Tomb. Those who could be invited were basically the top figures in the Federation. The people from his 6 families were all present. When the Cape family saw Zhou, they naturally didn't have any good expressions. The other families didn't have a good relationship with Zhou. Instead, someone from the North District's Ultimate Family clan took the initiative to greet Zhou. Lance often mentions you. He wants to have a serious battle with you again. If you have the time in the future, why don't you head to the North District? The elder from the Ultimate Family clan said to Zhou Wan with a smile, "If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely go." Zhou Wan had long had thoughts about the dimensional zones in the North District, but he hadn't gone because it was too far away. However, now that fine dust needed him to walk an unknown path in order to advance, it was inevitable that he would have to walk around in the future, so it was a good time to make a trip to the North District. After chatting for a while, the person in charge of the Zhang clan came over and began to speak. It was similar to what Zhang Chunqiu had said. The general meaning was that the Zhang family wouldn't charge any form of money for the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg auction. As long as they could help the Zhang family resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb, they could take away the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg. In fact, most people already knew the news in advance, so they were not surprised. After all, such a big thing happened to the Zhang family. It was impossible to hide it. "Brother Zhang, we roughly know the situation in the Fiend Tomb. However, there are some things that we might not be able to do without seeing it with our own eyes," said Duga Wenxin, the representative of the Duga family. "In a while, I'll bring everyone to the Fiend Tomb to take a look. However, there's one thing I have to make clear to everyone. The Fiend Tomb is extremely strange. Anyone who goes there might be struck by some unknown power. Who knows when they might unknowingly walk towards the Fiend Tomb and become a lifeless fiend stone statue. Therefore, those who go will face a certain amount of danger. Whether you go or not, please make your own decision. If something happens because of this, the Zhang family will not take any responsibility," said the person in charge of the Zhang family. Of course, Moses said, most people expressed that they were willing to take the risk, and only a small number of people wanted to withdraw. The Zhang family brought over the contract and made the people who were willing to take the risk sign it. Only then did they bring the people who had signed the contract to the Fiend Tomb. Zhou Wan was among them. He was determined to obtain the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg, so he naturally couldn't let go of this opportunity. "You've already been there. It's not like you don't know the dangers there. Why are you still going?" The others set off for the Fiend Tomb, but Zhou Wan was stopped by Zhang Yuji. "I thought of a method that might be able to eliminate the influence of the Fiend Tomb, so I want to give it a try," Zhou Wan said. "What method is it?" Zhang Yuji asked doubtfully. Zhou Wan didn't hide it. "I want to dig up the Fiend Tomb and remove the dimensional creatures inside. That way, I can naturally eliminate the negative effects." Zhang Yuji immediately shook her head and said, "That's definitely not feasible. The ancestral celestial master said that if we release the creatures in the Fiend Tomb, all living beings will be plunged into misery and suffering. The Zhang family will also be annihilated. Our Zhang family has suppressed the Fiend Tomb for so many years because we don't want such a thing to happen. How can we dig up the Fiend Tomb for our own selfish reasons? According to my observations, there shouldn't be only one terrifying creature in the Fiend Tomb. The one affecting your Zhang family shouldn't be the bomb mentioned by the ancestral celestial master. As long as we don't alarm Ba and dig open the Fiend Tomb a little, we can kill the dimensional creatures that affect your Zhang family," Zhou Wan explained. Zhang Yuji shook her head with a bitter smile. "Who knows what will happen once the Fiend Tomb is touched? Perhaps the terrifying creatures inside will escape. The consequences will be unimaginable. I'm afraid my elders won't agree to that." Zhou Wan pondered for a moment. It was already so difficult to convince Zhang Yuji, so it would probably be even more difficult to convince the elders of the Zhang family. He couldn't say that he already knew the situation in the Fiend Tomb, so it would be quite troublesome to convince them. Now, Zhou Wan could only take things one step at a time. He was unwilling to give up the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg no matter what. After witnessing the horror of the Terror transformation, if he encountered such a terrifying existence before he had the strength to fight it, the only option was to flee. As for the Earth Elemental Beast, it was undoubtedly the best weapon for escaping. When the time came, it was highly likely that he would have to rely on it to survive. Of course, it was best if he didn't encounter a terraform creature, but if he did, he needed a way to preserve his life. In the future, more and more guardians would appear. There would definitely be more terraform guardians appearing. There might even be terrifying dimensional creatures appearing. If it was really As the silver-haired companion beast had said, the combination of humans and guardians might produce a calamity-grade expert. That would be even more terrifying. The terror grade was already so terrifying. Zhou couldn't imagine what kind of power a calamity grade would have. As Zhang Yuji wasn't allowed to go to the Fiend Tomb, Zhou had no choice but to chase after her alone and follow the others to the Fiend Tomb. Zhang Chunxiu had been guarding the Fiend Tomb recently. When Zhou and company arrived, Zhang Chunxiu came out to welcome them and brought them to the stone platform. This stone platform had a great background. It was built by the ancestral celestial master back then. To this day, it hadn't been petrified. The ground and mountain walls beneath the stone platform had long been petrified. Only the 8 stone platforms were safe and sound. Most of the people who came were from the other 5 families. A portion of them were famous local wealthy families and famous freelance hunters. Zhou looked at them for a while, but he didn't find any traces of Lu Yun. Lu Yun probably won't give up easily on something he has his eyes on. If he's not here, could it be that he plans on stealing the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg? Zhou was somewhat suspicious. The others had already begun studying the problem of the Fiend Stones. They had already obtained detailed information from the Zhang family. Now is the time for them to show their abilities. Some people summoned companion beasts and try to see if they could avoid being petrified. Others wanted to use some power to purify the petrified mountain walls and people. An elder from the Cape family summoned a cross. After praying, the cross emitted a holy glow and shone at the Zhang family members who had turned into fiend stone statues. However, it was useless. The fiend stones weren't purified. Chapter 848. It had to be said that the 6 families and the local wealthy families had a rich heritage. Their means and various companion beasts broadened Zhou's horizons. Some of the companion beasts and abilities were really useful. An elder from the Cape family summoned a book-shaped companion beast. The pages of the book opened and a blurry shadow of the ghoul mask appeared. There were also some companion beasts that could move on fiend stones without being petrified. Everyone was trying their best to find a solution to the problem. These fellows are really capable. Don't tell me the problem of the Fiend Tomb has really been resolved by them. Zhou immediately felt a sense of danger. He had worked so hard for the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. It would be terrible if someone else beat him to it. Zhou thought for a moment and found Zhang Chunxiu. He whispered, "I've thought of a way to resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb. I just need to dig it up." Zhang Chunxiu shook his head and said, "We can't dig up the Fiend Tomb. Even if I agree, the elders in my family won't agree, much less the Celestial Master. If we don't dig up the Fiend Tomb, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to resolve the problem. However, don't worry. After my investigation, there's more than one Ba in the Fiend Tomb. There are other dimensional creatures in the periphery. We only need to dig up a portion of the Fiend Tomb and eliminate those dimensional creatures. I'm confident that I won't disturb Ba," Zhou said. Zhang Chunxiu pondered for a moment and said, "It's useless even if I believe you. This is the teachings of the ancestral celestial master. The Zhang family has guarded the teachings for generations, not daring to violate them. Otherwise, the Zhang family will definitely be wiped out. Even if it's for the Zhang family, the elders in the family will never allow anyone to touch the Fiend Tomb. But if we don't touch the Fiend Tomb, the Zhang family will still suffer. At this point in time, we have to give it a try, right?" Zhou still wanted to move Zhang Chunxiu. Zhang Chunxiu stared at Zhou and asked, "Are you really confident? This matter can't be faked. If anything happens, our Zhang family will be doomed." Zhou knew that Zhang Chunxiu hoped that he could produce some strong evidence. But how could Zhou produce it? He couldn't just turn on his phone and scan the Fiend Tomb for them to see, right? Zhou thought for a moment and said, "To be honest, I have a special ability to see through things. I can see the situation in the Fiend Tomb clearly, so I'm very confident about this matter." "You can see through the Fiend Tomb?" Zhang Chunxiu looked at Zhou in surprise. In fact, the Zhang family also had companion beasts with X-ray vision. Furthermore, there was more than one. However, in front of the Fiend Tomb, the X-ray vision of those companion beasts was useless. They were unable to see through the situation inside the fiend tomb. This didn't mean that the companion beast's penetrative abilities weren't strong, but that the sleeping goddess Ba beneath the fiend tomb was too powerful. It wasn't easy to see through the fiend tomb. Even some companion beasts with the ability to predict could only roughly predict the ghoul mask at the top. Furthermore, the scene they predicted was blurry, just like the elder from the Cape family. There are a total of 3 levels in the fiend tomb. The first level is a mask. I reckon that the ghostly face in the fiend stone and the power of fiend petrification were produced because of that ghostly face. On the second level was a strange creature. It looked like a snake, but not a snake, like a dragon, but not a dragon. The Zhang family could not help but walk towards the fiend tomb. They were probably lured by it. The third floor is where your Zhang family is suppressing and guarding Ba, but we don't need to disturb her. As long as we dig up the top of the fiend tomb and get rid of the 2-dimensional creatures, we can resolve your family's problem. Zhou explained the general situation. He wasn't afraid that the Zhang family would go back on their word. Even if he told them what was down there, it wouldn't be easy to kill the ghoul mask and ghost hornless. Many people might die. Even Zhou, when needed the help of Tyrant Behemoth, Truth Listener, and the Invisibility Cloak to kill them. Zhang Chunqiu couldn't help but believe Zhou when he saw how detailed he was. After some thought, he said, although that's the case, no one can guarantee that opening the fiend tomb won't alarm Ba at the bottom. Furthermore, we don't know anything about the abilities of the 2-dimensional creatures above. It won't be easy to kill them. After a pause, Zhang Chunqiu said, to be honest, our Zhang family can deduce that there are dimensional creatures in the fiend tomb. However, due to the ancestral celestial master's instructions, no one dares to touch the fiend tomb. Therefore, this matter will probably be very difficult to facilitate. How about this? Give me some time and let me give it a try. I'll think of a way to see if I can convince the elders in my family. All right. Zhou could only wait for Zhang Chunqiu's news. The Zhang family's current celestial master was Zhang Chunqiu's second uncle, Zhang Xiu. At that moment, Zhang Xiu was chatting with the Cape family and the family clan of gods. Chunqiu, you came at the right time. Old Mr. Charlie and Moses have found a way to eliminate the fiend tomb's influence. Come and listen as well. Zhang Xiu beckoned Zhang Chunqiu over. Zhang Chunqiu bowed slightly and stood behind Zhang Xiu. Although he wanted to talk about Zhou Wan, it wasn't convenient for him to say it in front of so many people. All he could do was wait patiently. Celestial Master, just as I said, all the strange things in the fiend tomb are caused by the mask. To remove the mask without opening the fiend tomb, only our Cape family's great prophecy theurgy can do it. Old Charlie said slowly. Zhang Xiu listened quietly and didn't comment. After old Charlie finished speaking, he looked at Moses and the other members of the family clan of gods. Moses said, I can't agree with old Mr. Charlie's words. There's indeed a mask in the fiend tomb, but the great prophecy theurgy might not be effective. If you are willing to let me take action, I definitely won't disappoint you. Then I want to hear what abilities you have that are better than our Cape family's great prophecy theurgy, Charlie said coldly. Moses didn't say a word. He only summoned a figure. It was a terrifying giant. Unlike ordinary barbaric and primitive giants, this giant was dressed in glorious armor. He was like a giant god protecting the divine world. He had an incomparable aura, as though he could shatter the ground with a stomp and destroy the stars with a punch. This is my guardian, giant god sovereign. With his strength, it won't be difficult for him to kill the mask in the fiend tomb, Moses said. Everyone's eyes were attracted by giant god sovereign. Although many people knew of the existence of guardians, not many people had actually seen them. No matter how strong a guardian is, it's impossible for him to destroy the mask inside the fiend tomb, right? You still have to dig up the fiend tomb after all, right? Charlie remained unmoved as he sneered. Moses said unhurriedly, that might not be the case. The power giant God Sovereign possesses is unimaginable to ordinary people. Even if he doesn't dig up the fiend tomb, he can still destroy the mask inside. I can guarantee that he won't damage the fiend tomb. If the fiend tomb is damaged at all, Celestial Master doesn't have to pay the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg. Chapter 849. Although Moses and company weren't on the stone platform, giant God Sovereign's body was just too huge. The people on the stone platform also saw giant God Sovereign's terrifying body. When Zhou saw giant God Sovereign, his eyes lit up. He had already smelled the aura of a guardian. Without a doubt, it was another guardian. Zhou still couldn't defeat those guardians at the great god level, but not every guardian was that strong. Perhaps this giant God Sovereign had strength similar to the six-winged seraphim? Zhou wanted to take a few more looks, but Moses had already unsummoned the guardian. Zhou thought for a moment and suddenly frowned. He thought to himself, "Don't tell me that fellow wants to use the power of a guardian to touch the fiend tomb. Isn't that courting death?" When guardians descended on Earth, they represented different dimensional races in battle. They were enemies with each other. Now that a guardian was used to bombard the place where another guardian was sleeping, it was obvious what happened next. Without a doubt, Goddess Ba, who was sleeping in the fiend tomb, would most likely go berserk. When that happened, the Zhang family wouldn't be the only unlucky ones. Everyone would die. Zhou didn't want to die, nor did he want Zhang Yuji's family to be destroyed. Therefore, he was already considering how he should stop the Zhang family if they really agreed to let the guardian attack the fiend tomb. Zhang Xiao was still considering Charlie and Moses' suggestion. The two different plans seemed to be worth a try, but at the same time, it was difficult to say which method would be effective. Charlie and Moses were arguing, hoping that the Zhang family would use their plan. "Chunxiao, what do you think?" Zhang Xiao asked Zhang Chunxiao. When Zhang Chunxiao was young, he had already helped his family guard the fiend tomb. Furthermore, Zhang Xiao had the intention of nurturing him as the next celestial master of the Zhang family. At this moment, he was not only asking Zhang Chunxiao for his opinion, but also to test him. Zhang Chunxiao thought for a moment and bowed to Zhang Xiao. "Celestial Master, if possible, I wish to hear more plans before making a decision. Unfortunately, other than our two families, no one has discovered the mask in the fiend tomb, much less eliminated it without damaging the fiend tomb," Moses said. Zhang Xiao looked at Zhang Chunxiao thoughtfully and asked, "Are there any other plans?" Zhang Chunxiao hurriedly said, "Zhou, who represents Luoyang's and family, also has a plan that can resolve the problem of the fiend tomb. Celestial Master, why don't you listen to it first? Is he Yuji's little friend?" Zhang Xiao clearly knew who Zhou was. Yes, Yuji has a good relationship with Zhou. He even saved Zhou before. He has no ill intentions towards the Zhang family, Zhang Chunxiao said. "Then invite him over and tell me about his plan," Zhang Xiao said after thinking for a while. Zhang Chunxiao hurriedly accepted the order and went to look for Zhou. Just as Zhang Chunxiao left, Charlie said, "Celestial Master, that Zhou is just a punk with some luck. Don't tell me you really believe him and leave such an important matter to him. This concerns the fate of a Zhang clan, so please be careful. There's no harm in listening to more opinions. In the end, we will naturally use whoever's plan is better," Zhang Xiao said calmly. Seeing that Zhang Xiao had already made up his mind, Charlie and Moses didn't say anything else. When Zhang Chunxiao saw Zhou, he explained the situation in detail. He still trusted Zhou. After all, not only had Zhou seen the mask, but he also knew that there was a monster under the mask and Ba below. As for Charlie and Moses, they had only discovered the mask at the top. If they really wanted to give it a try, Zhang Chunxiao was more willing to believe Zhou. They only discovered the mask. Ignoring the fact that they can remove the mask, even if they can, the monster below is still there. It's useless to remove the mask. Zhou paused for a moment and said to Zhang Chunxiao with a solemn expression, "Furthermore, I suspect that Ba below is actually a guardian. We don't know the relationship between the guardians. If they are enemies and Moses uses a guardian to attack the fiend tomb, I'm afraid it will cause huge trouble." Zhang Chunxiao frowned when he heard that and asked, "Are you sure that Ba is a guardian?" "I can't be sure. After all, I can only see a portion of it through my X-ray vision. However, it does look like a guardian," Zhou said. "If there's really such a possibility, we can't let Moses try no matter what. We can't take such a risk." Zhang Chunxiao had already made up his mind. He pulled Zhou and said, "Follow me to the celestial master first. Try your best to fight for an opportunity. I'll help you from the side." "All right." Zhou agreed and followed Zhang Chuanxiu to Zhang Xiu's side. "Greetings, celestial master." Zhou bowed at Zhang Xiu. In the past, the Zhang family's hero king was the leader of the 6 heroes. Now, every Zhang family celestial master had a very special status in the Federation. Even the senators of the 6 families had to be respectful in front of the celestial master, not daring to slight him. "You are Yuji's friend. There's no need to stand on ceremony with me. I often hear Yuji mention you. Now, I can tell that you are indeed a young hero." Zhang Xiu sized up Zhou and continued, "I heard that you also have a way to eliminate the influence of the fiend tomb. Can you tell me in detail?" "My method is actually very simple. It's to dig open the fiend tomb and kill the dimensional creatures inside. Only then can I completely resolve the problem of the fiend tomb," Zhou said. The moment that was said, not only did many members of the Zhang family frown, but Charlie said disdainfully, "If we can dig open the fiend tomb, why would the Zhang family invite you over with their means and abilities?" Zhang Xiu didn't directly deny Zhou. All he did was look at him and say, "Tell me, why must we dig open the fiend tomb?" Zhou said calmly, "I have a penetrative vision skill. I can roughly tell that the fiend tomb is divided into 3 levels. The first level has a mask, the second level has a monster, and the third level has a creature guarded by the nobles. If I want to completely resolve the problem of the fiend tomb, I have to eliminate the mask on the first level and the monster on the second level. If I don't dig open the fiend tomb, I really don't have the ability to eliminate both." How laughable. The Zhang family has the power of the heavenly eye. Even the Zhang family can't see through the fiend tomb, but you can see it clearly. You even know that it's divided into 3 levels. Could it be that your penetrative vision is better than the Zhang family's heavenly eye? Could it be that you eavesdropped on our conversation and know that there's a mask in the fiend tomb? Are you using this information to scare us and profit from it?" Charlie said with a sneer. "The celestial master will tell if it's real or fake." Zhou didn't argue with Charlie. He turned to Zhang Xiu and said, "Celestial master, if I were to do it, I would have to dig open the fiend tomb. There's no other way." Chapter 850. Celestial Master, I don't think there's a need to waste any more time, right? It's naturally impossible to dig up the fiend tomb. From the looks of it, you can only choose between me and old Mr. Charlie, Moses said. After hearing Moses say that, Zhou suddenly said, "Celestial Master, if I were you, I definitely wouldn't choose to use the power of a guardian." "Zhou, what do you mean?" Moses and the members of the family clan of gods glared at Zhou. "Why?" Zhang Xiu asked Zhou with interest. "It's not convenient for me to explain the exact reason in public. I've already told Zhang Chuanxiu. I'll get him to explain it to you in private," Zhou said as he deliberately glanced at Moses. He originally had a better solution, but he chose the one that could easily infuriate Moses and the family clan of gods. This was because he needed an excuse to kill giant god sovereign. Now, Moses and the members of the family clan of gods looked at Zhou with unfriendly gazes. Zhang Chuanxiu used a secret message to convey Zhou's reason to Zhang Xiu. After Zhang Xiu heard that, he looked at Zhou and asked, "Are you sure about giant god sovereign?" "I can't be sure, but if it were me, I wouldn't take such a risk," Zhou said. "Celestial Master, please don't listen to his nonsense. I know my guardian best." "There's definitely no problem," Moses explained. Although he didn't know what Zhou had said to the Zhang family, he knew that it definitely wasn't anything good. "Please be patient. We need some time to discuss. Please wait for a moment." After Zhang Xiu said that, he got someone to lead the people from the 3 families out, leaving only the Zhang family to discuss. "Zhou, do you dare accept my challenge?" Moses asked coldly as he stared at Zhou. "You are just relying on a guardian. It's nothing impressive. Why wouldn't I dare?" Zhou asked arrogantly. "Very good. After this matter is over, I'll definitely fight you. When the time comes, don't escape," Moses said with a sullen expression. "I'm afraid you will be the one who escapes." Zhou remained arrogant. Moses didn't say anything else. After all, this was an important place for the Zhang family. It was impossible for him to fight Zhou in here. It was useless to say anything now. All he could do was wait until he left. The Zhang family was having an intense discussion inside. Zhang Chunxiu naturally recommended Zhou won, but due to the ancestral celestial master's teachings, many elders in the Zhang family didn't agree to digging up the grave. In particular, Zhang Chunxiu's uncle strongly objected. If we really want to dig up the grave, our Zhang family has many experts. Why do we need to borrow the help of outsiders? This was what most of the Zhang family members thought. The reason they were willing to pay the Earth Elemental Beast and seek help was because they hoped to resolve the problem without touching the Fiend Tomb. Uncles, Zhou, one can see through the Fiend Tomb. Only he knows where we can dig and where we can't. Uncles should know better than me how dangerous the Fiend Tomb is. We can't take such a risk, Zhang Chunxiu said. There are ways to avoid taking risks. Charlie and Moses' methods don't require opening the Fiend Tomb, so there's no risk at all. Even if it's really as Zhou once said, there's a guardian below, and it's not convenient to use a guardian to bombard the Fiend Tomb. We can still choose Charlie. What's more, saying that Ba was a protector was not credible at all. When he first came, he couldn't tell anything wrong. Now that he's here again, he understands everything. It's unbelievable, Uncle Zhang said. Uncle. Zhang Chunxiu wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Uncle Zhang. There's no need to say anything else. The ancestral teachings cannot be broken. The ancestral celestial master has already clearly said that if the Fiend Tomb is touched, our Zhang family will definitely be wiped out. No matter what, I don't agree to digging up the grave. Zhang Chunxiu was helpless as well. No matter what he said, he couldn't move the elders of the Zhang family. After waiting for a while, the Zhang family finally finished their discussion. Zhang Xiu walked out with the Zhang family and said to the three of them, "After our discussion, we've decided to ask Mr. Charlie to help us resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb. If Mr. Charlie can't resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb, we'll have to trouble the two of you to help." Celestial Master, that's a wise choice. Charlie smiled very gentlemanly, but there was an unconcealable smugness in his eyes. Moses and company glared at Zhou. Clearly, they believed that Zhou had obstructed them. Otherwise, they should have been the ones to obtain this opportunity. "Sorry, I've tried my best." Zhang Chunxiu walked to Zhou inside and said apologetically, "It's fine. The Cape family might not succeed. Perhaps there's still a chance." Zhou felt that Charlie couldn't even see Ghost Hornless below. The chances of him resolving the problem of the Fiend Tomb were slim. Furthermore, if he wasn't careful, he might even lose his life there. After all, the abilities of the Ghoul Mask and Ghost Hornless were too strange. Even Zhou could be killed if he wasn't careful. It probably wouldn't be easy for old Charlie to return alive. As the two of them spoke, Uncle Zhang walked past them and glanced at Zhou. Then, he said to Zhang Chunxiu, "Don't mention the grave digging again. As long as my old bones are still around, I can't let God harm our Zhang family." "Uncle," Zhang Chunxiu wanted to say something, but Uncle Zhang had already waved his hand and left. "Don't mind it. Because of the ancestral celestial master's instructions, my uncle is only afraid that something will happen to the Zhang family. He has no intention of targeting you," Zhang Chunxiu said helplessly to Zhou. "That's nothing. However, I think your uncle has some misunderstandings about me. I'm afraid that if Charlie doesn't succeed, they will be willing to give Moses a chance and not me," Zhou said. "I definitely won't let that happen," Zhang Chunxiu said with a firm expression. However, Zhou couldn't figure out when he had offended the old man to make him look down on him. Zhang Chunxiu thought for a moment and said, "Didn't you bump into my uncle the last time you came? I think this might have something to do with you saying that nothing happened and that you didn't discover anything." Zhou was enlightened. The old man originally thought that he was here to mess around and didn't have any true ability. Charlie had already begun taking action. Zhou and Zhang Chunxiu went to the stone platform together. Zhou also wanted to see what the Great Prophecy Theurgy was. A pair of angel wings appeared on Charlie's back as he flew to the Fiend Tomb and stopped outside. He summoned two companion beasts. One was a cross, and the other was a book. As the book opened, beams of light shot out from the book, gradually condensing into the shape of a ghoul mask. Although it was a little blurry, Joan could tell that it was undoubtedly the ghoul mask. This old man is quite capable, Joan thought. Charlie didn't hesitate at all. When the ghoul mask's shadow condensed, the cross in his other hand emitted a terrifying holy glow. He used the cross as a sword and stabbed it into the ghoul mask's shadow. The ghoul mask's shadow immediately shattered the cross and dissipated into specks of light. At the same time, he heard a cracking sound coming from the fiend tomb, as though something had shattered. Chapter 851. When Joan saw this scene, he knew that Charlie was probably in trouble. The abilities of his book and cross were indeed somewhat powerful, but he didn't know that the mask itself wasn't the main point. Destroying the mask was useless. Instead, it might put him in danger. Indeed, after a commotion in the fiend tomb, grayish-white dust suddenly spewed out. When Charlie saw the dust, his expression changed slightly. The book and cross in his hand bloomed with light again, hoping to repel the dust. However, the dust was like smoke. When he repelled the smoke on one side, the other side swept up and sprayed Charlie's face. Everything happened too quickly. Even the Cape family didn't have the time to stop it. By the time they reacted, the dust had already condensed into a mask on Charlie's face. When the Cape family rushed forward to help Charlie, the cross in Charlie's hand emitted a shocking glow as it stabbed the two Cape family members who wanted to help him. The two of them were caught off guard. After being injured by Charlie, they fell onto the fiend's stone ground. Soon, their bodies turned into fiend stones. Instantly, everyone was horrified. Charlie, who was controlled by the ghoul mask, didn't care. He brandished the book and cross in his hand and charged at the humans on the stone platform. Zhang Chuanxiu suddenly attacked. His sword slashed out like a stream of light, instantly shattering the mask on Charlie's face. However, it didn't injure his face. The exquisiteness of his sword technique was truly astonishing. However, it was useless. The shattered mask quickly gathered together and transformed back into a mask that covered Charlie's face. Everyone fought Charlie, but they couldn't injure him. However, attacking the mask on his face was useless. Instantly, everyone fell into chaos. Finally, Zhang Xiao produced a talisman and pasted it on the ghoul mask, causing Charlie to stand there motionless. However, the mask couldn't be removed from his face. The Cape family thought of many solutions, but they failed to remove the mask. All they could do was seek Zhang Xiao's help. Zhang Xiao said, "My mythical ghost suppression talisman can only suppress it, but it can't completely destroy it. Furthermore, this mask is very strange. It's useless to shatter it. I can't do anything about it either. I can only think of other solutions." This outcome was naturally within Zhou Wen's expectations. The ghoul mask wasn't the main point. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible to kill it. All he could do was dig up the grave and destroy the face pattern beneath. The Zhang family cast their gazes at Moses, naturally hoping that he could remove the mask. However, Moses shook his head and said, "If I had attacked from the beginning and completely destroyed the mask, there might have been chance. Now, the mask is already on Charlie's face. My guardian is too powerful. Even if a single strike can destroy the mask, Charlie won't be spared." The Zhang family and the Cape family were in a dilemma. No one could get rid of the mask on Charlie's face without harming him. However, if they did not get rid of the mask, the problem of the fiend tomb could not be resolved. Zhang Chunxiu saw Zhou when standing by the side and watching everything happen with an abnormally calm expression. His heart stirred as he asked Zhou Wen, "Do you have a way to resolve the mask without harming Charlie?" As everyone fell silent, they looked at the two of them when they heard Zhang Chuanxiu's question. Zhou Wen answered, "Yes, but I'll still say the same thing. I'm not as capable as Charlie and company. If you wanted to resolve the problem, you have to dig up the fiend tomb. Why are you still spouting nonsense at a time like this? The mask has already been lured out. Why are you still digging up the fiend tomb?" Uncle Zhang said. As a conservative member of the Zhang family, he was most unwilling to dig up the fiend tomb. Zhou Wen was helpless as well. This was the result of unequal information. What was common sense to him was a mysterious and unknown power to the Zhang family. They were too afraid of the fiend tomb, afraid that the Zhang family would be wiped out once the fiend tomb was dug up. Therefore, they strongly opposed it. Uncle, Zhouwen isn't someone who speaks without reason. He must have his reasons for saying that. Zhang Chuanxiu and Dugugu had seen Zhou when strength outside Forbidden City and knew that he was extraordinary. Furthermore, back then, everyone believed that Zhou Wen and old Master Xia were trapped in Forbidden City. No one had seen him come out, but they never expected him to return to Luoyang safely. Old Master Xia had disappeared. Zhang Chuanxiu knew that he couldn't do such a thing. The truth is right in front of us. What reason is there? Uncle Zhang said coldly. Celestial Master, the Fiend Tomb's influence on our Zhang family is getting worse. If we can't resolve it completely, I'm afraid that in a few years, our Zhang family will be wiped out even if there are no disasters. At this point, instead of sitting back and waiting for death, why don't we let Zhou give it a try? I believe he can resolve the problem without alarming Ba. Celestial Master, please give him a chance. Also, give our Zhang family's descendants a chance, Zhang Chuanxiu said as he bowed in front of Zhang Xiu. Chuanxiu, what are you doing? There's no need to dig up the fiend tomb to get rid of that mask. We are only worried about Charlie's life and death, which is why we are helpless. Uncle Zhang was immediately enraged. Now that things have come to this, I don't think I can hold back. If Celestial Master is willing to let my guardian take action, I guarantee that I can destroy the mask. However, I can't guarantee Charlie's life, Moses said from the side. Moses, how dare you? The Cape family glared at each other. Stop talking. After Zhang Xiu spoke, everyone fell silent and looked at him. Zhang Xiu was still the one in charge here. Zhouwen, how confident are you? Zhang Xiu looked at Zhang Chuanxiu, who was bowing in front of him, and asked Zhouwen. I was only 70% confident previously, but now that I've seen the mask's abilities, I'm 90% confident, Zhouwen said. Do you need anything? Zhang Xiu asked again. No. One person is enough, Zhouwen answered. All right, let's do it. If we succeed, the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg will be yours, Zhang Xiu said with a nod. Celestial Master, we can't dig up the fiend tomb, Uncle Zhang said anxiously. Brother, I've already made up my mind on this matter. There's no need to say anything else, Zhang Xiu said calmly. Uncle Zhang stomped his feet in anger. Have you forgotten the ancestral Celestial Master's teachings? Digging up the fiend tomb is a calamity for our Zhang family. Zhouwen, why aren't you doing it? Zhang Chuanxiu pretended not to hear his uncle's indignant words as he got up and pushed Zhouwen. Zhouwen no longer had any qualms as he summoned Tyrant Behemoth. With a boom, Tyrant Behemoth's majestic body landed in front of the fiend tomb. Tyrant Behemoth, that's actually Zhouwen's companion beast. Apart from the Zhang family, who already knew about it, the other families were alarmed. After all, it was a powerful existence ranked 4th on the previous rankings. In fact, although Tyrant Behemoth was ranked 4th, it had never lost. Chapter 852. Under Zhou Wen's orders, Tyrant Behemoth activated absolute strength and slammed into the fiend tomb, digging it open. The Zhang family is finished. Uncle Zhang was alarmed, angry, and afraid. His face was pale. The other members of the Zhang family also wore nervous expressions. After all, the ancestral Celestial Master's instructions were there. It would be a lie to say that they weren't worried. Even Zhang Chuanxiu's palms were sweating. However, nothing strange happened when Tyrant Behemoth dug opened the fiend tomb bit by bit. I originally thought that Tyrant Behemoth was a companion beast from the West District, but I never expected it to be in Zhou Wen's hands. The elder from the Ultimate Family Clan looked at Tyrant Behemoth with envy. Anyone would want such a violent combat pet, but there weren't many violent combat pets of such level and quality in the entire Federation. Moses had been watching coldly from the sidelines. Although Tyrant Behemoth was powerful, it wasn't stronger than his Giant God Sovereign. Giant God Sovereign was also strength type, and it had an extremely strong restraining effect on companion beasts of the same type. If Zhou wanted to rely on Tyrant Behemoth to fight him, Moses would definitely make Zhou suffer. Just as everyone had different thoughts, Tyrant Behemoth suddenly stopped digging and retreated a distance. The Zhang family was puzzled as to why Tyrant Behemoth had stopped digging when they suddenly saw Zhou wave his hand as though something had flashed. There was a cracking sound in the fiend tomb. Before they could see what had happened, black blood spewed out like a fountain and splattered everywhere. Only then did everyone see that there was a rather abstract human face pattern in the excavated fiend tomb. There was a sword mark on the human face pattern. It was unknown how it had been slashed out, but black blood was spewing out. Crack! As the black blood spewed out, cracks appeared on a mask on Charlie's face. Furthermore, there were more and more cracks. When the black blood spewed out, the mask shattered and turned to dust. It wasn't just the mask on Charlie's face. Even the fiend faces on the fiend stone shattered. The people who had been petrified gradually recovered their bodies. Unfortunately, they were already dead. Even without the fiend petrification, it was impossible for them to be revived. The Zhang family was overjoyed when they saw this. Zhang Chunqiu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was also gambling. Thankfully, he had won this time. Fortunately, I didn't fail you. Zhou didn't continue digging because if he continued digging, he would have to use Truth Listener when he reached Ghost Hornless. This was something he didn't wish to expose. To kill the ghoul mask, light concealment could be used to represent the invisibility cloak. However, the Ghost Hornless required Truth Listener to take action. The invisibility cloak was useless. Young friend, you saved our Zhang family from danger. I don't know how to thank you. Follow me to retrieve the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. After Zhang Xiu said that, he said to Zhang Chunqiu, take everyone back to rest. Don't be negligent. Yes, Zhang Chunqiu replied. Zhang Xiu brought Zhou back to Celestial Master Manor. After Zhou took a seat, he said, my young friend, you should have something to say, right? Zhou was slightly taken aback. He never expected Zhang Xiu to tell that he had something to say. Without any hesitation, he said, I've already said that apart from Ba, there are 2 more dimensional creatures in the fiend tomb. Now, only one is left. There's still one below. If we can't eliminate it, I'm afraid the Zhang family's problem can't be completely resolved. Young friend, you didn't immediately take action. I believe you have some qualms? Zhang Xiu said, it's not difficult to eliminate that dimensional creature, but I need some special companion beasts. I don't want too many people to see my companion beasts, so I hope that you can allow me to head to the fiend tomb alone. If you're worried, you can watch from the side. I just hope that there won't be a third person present, Zhou said. This matter isn't difficult. There's no need for me to be present. I'll get Chunqiu to accompany you later. Other than you and Chunqiu, no one else will know about this matter. Even I won't ask. Zhang Xiu paused for a moment before saying, however, there's something I hope you can help the Zhang family keep a secret. Celestial Master, please speak, Zhou said. Since you can see through fiend patterns, it's very likely that Ba is a guardian. I hope no one else will know that Ba is a guardian, Zhang Xiu said. Zhou was slightly taken aback. He never expected Zhang Xiu to request this, but he still agreed. I can guarantee that this matter will never spread from my mouth again. Zhang Xiu understood Zhou subtext and nodded. That's good. If the Zhang family spreads it, it'll be the fate of the Zhang family. After Zhang Xiu called Zhang Chunqiu over, he got him to accompany Zhou to the fiend tomb again. After the 2 of them left, Uncle Zhang walked over. Celestial Master, why are you doing this? Since we've already decided to dig up the fiend tomb, why don't our Zhang family do it ourselves? Why are we handing our fate to an outsider? Zhang Xiu poured a cup of tea for him before slowly saying, brother, why has our Zhang family been able to prosper all these years? It's not because our companion beasts are more powerful than others, nor is it because our Zhang family is powerful enough. It's because we see further than others and think more than others. We take fewer detours than others. In this era, resources are indeed important, but the importance of information and knowledge is sometimes more important than resources. For example, Zhou can see through the fiend tomb and know the information inside. If we were to do what he can, although we might succeed, we might have to pay a huge price. There's no need to do that. Zhang Xiao paused for a moment before continuing. Besides, don't you think the earth elemental beast falling into the hands of someone who isn't from the six families is better than we expected? Uncle Zhang was taken aback before saying, "That's right. However, Zhou is really powerful. Even old Master Xia fell at his hands. Now that he has the earth elemental beast, I'm afraid that in the future, now that guardians have appeared, the future is unpredictable. However, do you still remember the last part of the ancestral celestial master's last words?" Zhang Xiao said with a strange expression. "You mean that we might have a chance?" Uncle Zhang didn't dare continue as though he was afraid of something. "Let's take it one step at a time. Our generation is already old, and we don't have the chance to advance further. However, Chuanxiu and the others are different. Perhaps they still have hope," Zhang Xiao said indifferently. Zhou Wen and Zhang Chuanxiu arrived at the Fiend Tomb again. Zhang Chuanxiu brought the Celestial Master's decree and got the Zhang family members guarding the place to temporarily evacuate. "I'll leave this place to you. I'll return after the matter is done," Zhang Chuanxiu said as he left. The Zhang family sure is decisive. They didn't leave a single person behind, Zhou Wen thought to himself. Such a decision wasn't something anyone could make. After all, it concerned the life and death of the family. No one would be at ease leaving it to an outsider, but the Zhang family had done so. Chapter 853. Zhou Wen followed the steps and easily eliminated Ghost Hornless. When digging the Fiend Tomb, Zhou Wen was very careful, afraid that he would alarm Goddess Ba below. Thankfully, nothing unexpected happened. After eliminating Ghost Hornless, Zhou Wen used Fiend Stones to fill up the Fiend Tomb before meeting up with Zhang Chuanxiu. As for Zhang Chuanxiu, he had already prepared the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg. When they met, he gave it to Zhou Wen. "Aren't you afraid that I won't complete the mission?" Zhou Wen said with a smile. "What's there to be afraid of? You can run, but the temple can't. Can you not return to Luoyang for the rest of your life?" Zhang Chuanxiu curled his lips. "Thankfully, I've already completed the mission," Zhou Wen said. Zhang Chuanxiu thought for a moment and said, "You have to be careful of the other families, especially Moses. He won't let the matter rest easily." Zhou Wen nodded. "I know. Let's not talk about anything else. If you need anything from my Zhang family, feel free to ask. If there's a need, you can stay at Celestial Master Manor for a year or so," Zhang Chuanxiu said with a smile. "There's no need for that. I still have some matters to attend to. After this is over, I plan on returning. Can you help me arrange for me to bid farewell to Yuji?" Zhou Wen said, "She's waiting for you at Celestial Master Manor." I never expected the Earth Elemental Beast to fall into Zhou Wen's hands. "Your Cape family has worked for nothing," Moses said to Charlie with a smile in the courtyard. "Didn't your family clan of gods also end up empty-handed?" Charlie's face was somewhat pale. Although he had escaped death, he had suffered some internal injuries due to being controlled by the ghoul mask. Moses smiled and said, "That might not be the case. To incubate a mythical companion egg, we definitely have to rely on external forces. I believe it's impossible for Zhou Wen to incubate the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg so quickly. We still have a chance to take it back. You want to snatch the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg?" Charlie asked Moses. "Zhou Wen previously agreed to fight me. I openly won the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg. How can this be considered snatching?" Moses said indifferently. "Humph. Then why did you come here to tell me this?" Charlie said thoughtfully. "I'm afraid that Zhou Wen won't dare to accept the challenge or flee. That's why I want to ask you to help me. If Zhou Wen wishes to flee or doesn't dare to accept the challenge, help me stop him. With your book of prophecy, he won't be able to escape even if he has wings," Moses said. "Why should I help you?" Charlie asked coldly. No, you're not helping me. You're helping yourself. Even if you can track him, are you confident of defeating Tyrant Behemoth? As for me, I could defeat Tyrant Behemoth. If we work together, we can definitely snatch back the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg." When the time comes, our families will explore the founding emperor tomb together and split the benefits equally. What do you think? Moses said, Humph, you make it sound nice. There's only one earth elemental beast. Without it, we can't enter the founding emperor tomb. How can we cooperate? Charlie naturally didn't believe Moses's nonsense. In order to express my sincerity, after snatching back the earth elemental beast companion egg, your Cape family will be in charge of incubating it. You should believe me this way, right? Moses said with a smile. Are you serious? Charlie looked at Moses in disbelief. Without the earth elemental beast, they couldn't enter the founding emperor tomb. Back then, the 6 heroes had nearly fallen out because of the earth elemental beast companion egg. Now, Moses was willing to give it up. It left him in disbelief. Our families are both in the West District. Although there will be occasional skirmishes, we are ultimately on the same side. The founding emperor tomb is an important dimensional zone in the East District. If we take action across zones, I'm afraid the Xia and Zhang families won't sit idly by. Only by working together can we bring back everything inside. Otherwise, it's very likely that the items will be taken out and benefit the Zhang and Xia families. I'm not sure if the Xia family will participate, but the Zhang family has taken the initiative to give the earth elemental beast away. Do you think they are so kind as to give up on the items in the founding emperor tomb? Moses said. Charlie thought for a moment and nodded. What you said makes sense. We're willing to cooperate, but the premise is that the earth elemental beast companion egg has to be incubated by someone from our family. Of course, I've already said that the earth elemental beast companion egg is yours, but when splitting the items, we have to split it evenly, Moses said. Deal. Charles extended his palm. While they were discussing how to snatch back the earth elemental beast companion egg, Zhou was already prepared to incubate it. Typical epic humans needed external help to incubate a mythical companion egg. They needed a lot of preparation in the early stages. However, Zhou didn't need it at all. He didn't even need Slaughterer's infinite essence energy. The Tao Sutra and the First Order of Chaos could help him incubate a mythical companion egg. Earth Elemental Beast, Mythical Life Providence, Earth Life Soul, Essence of Earth Wheel of Destiny, Earth of the 5 Element Strength, 80 Speed, 80 Constitution, 80 Essence Energy, 80 Talent Skill, Earth Escape Companion Form. Mount, from the looks of it, the Earth Elemental Beast is a pure Mount-type companion beast. It doesn't have any special offensive skills, but just being an Earth Escape Mount is already considered an excellent Grade 1. After Zhou looked at its stats, he hatched it. Soon, a companion beast that looked like a pangolin but was as large as a dinosaur appeared in front of Zhou. Zhou gave it a try in-game and realized that the Earth Elemental Beast lived up to its reputation. Although it didn't have any offensive skills, the Earth Escape skill could be continuously activated as long as he had essence energy. The interval between skills was very short. When the Earth Elemental Beast's essence energy was full, it could instantly bring Zhou over 50 kilometers. It was truly an escape weapon. It was equally powerful when used for assassination. Amidst the army, he arrived in front of the enemy's commander with Earth Escape and killed him with one strike. Then, he easily escaped through Earth Escape. No matter how many enemies there were, they couldn't stop the Earth Elemental Beast. As long as I'm on land, I won't have to be afraid of being besieged in the future. Zhou was delighted. However, on careful thought, he realized that there were 4 similar mounts: metal, wood, water, and fire. If he could obtain them all, he wondered if he could use the phone's function to fuse them into one. While Zhou was still studying the use of the Earth Elemental Beast, Moses sent someone to deliver a battle invitation. He wanted to have a fair duel with Zhou to determine who was better. After reading the battle invitation, Zhou rejected it without hesitation. Firstly, it was because he didn't know what abilities Giant God Sovereign had. Secondly, he didn't need to give Moses an excuse to openly snatch the Earth Elemental Beast. If Moses wasn't willing to give up the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg, he could only secretly snatch it. When that happened, Zhou would stand on the moral high ground. No matter what he did to Moses or what methods he used, no one could criticize him. Zhou wasn't afraid of being criticized, but there was no need for him to take the risk of fighting Giant God Sovereign, who he didn't understand. If Giant God Sovereign was comparable to Ant City's guardian, it would be too dangerous. So Gu. Chapter 854. Zhou unpacked his things and prepared to leave Mount Dragon Tiger. He had previously rejected Moses, and now that he was packing up and running, Moses might very well chase after him to intercept him. When that happened, it would be Zhou's main battlefield. Even if Giant God Sovereign really had the strength of Ant City's guardian, Zhou wasn't afraid of engaging him in guerrilla warfare. Earth escape, teleportation, invisibility, and Zhou's proficiency in movement techniques could be said to be best at guerrilla warfare. Zhou packed his things and was about to leave with Ye in his arms when he saw Zhang Chunxiu rush over. Zhou, are you planning on leaving Mount Dragon Tiger? Zhang Chunxiu asked directly. That's right, Zhou answered. It's best you don't leave now. We realize that Moses has already reached a tacit understanding with Charlie. If you leave now, you definitely won't be able to escape the pursuit of the two families. Charlie's Book of Prophecy is best at finding people. You have already appeared in front of him. As long as you aren't too far from him, he can find you no matter where you hide, Zhang Chunxiu said. It's fine. That's perfect, Zhou said. Zhang Chunxiu was slightly taken aback. He didn't know what Zhou meant by perfect. He stared at Zhou with a strange expression and said, Don't tell me you want to snipe Moses and company. Why not? Zhou said with a smile. At least make a trip to Celestial Master Manor first. We have already prepared the resources needed to incubate the Earth Elemental Beast. We can help you incubate the Earth Elemental Beast in 3 days. When the time comes, you will be much safer, Zhang Chunxiu said. If that's the case, will Moses still chase after me? Zhou paused before saying, Besides, I've already incubated the Earth Elemental Beast. With that said, Zhou summoned the Earth Elemental Beast. Zhang Chunxiu was dumbfounded. After snapping to his senses, he said with a bitter smile, From the looks of it, Moses and company are destined not to gain any advantage this time. Who can they blame for being greedy? Zhou put away the Earth Elemental Beast and bade Zhang Chunxiu farewell before secretly leaving Mount Dragon Tiger with Ye. Looking at Zhou's departing figure, Zhang Chunxiu muttered to himself, This Zhou is even more terrifying than in Tianzhou back then. I'm afraid he really will turn the Federation upside down. I wonder if it's a blessing or a curse in this era. The news of Zhou secretly leaving Mount Dragon Tiger naturally couldn't be hidden from Moses and Charlie. Charlie had already predicted the direction in which Zhou had left. He sneered and said, It hasn't even been 24 hours since he obtained the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. It definitely won't be able to hatch it in time. As long as we catch up to him, we'll have a chance to take the companion egg back. Then what are we waiting for? Before he returns to Luoyang, we have to stop him and snatch the companion egg back, Moses said. Not only do I want the companion egg, but I also want his life. A cold glint flashed in Charlie's eyes. The grudge between Zhou and the Cape family naturally wouldn't be resolved just because Zhou shattered the ghoul mask on his face. He also wouldn't thank Zhou for saving his life. Now that the two clans had set out together, the originally bustling Longhu town seemed to have become a lot quieter. Celestial Master, Zhou has already left Dragon Tiger Town. Moses and Charlie have led men in pursuit, a Zhang family intelligence agent reported to Zhang Xiao. Should we send people over and wait for an opportunity to snatch back the Earth Elemental Beast? If we can snatch it back this time, we can stop others from knowing that the Earth Elemental Beast is in our Zhang family. Uncle Zhang's eyes lit up. Zhang Chunxiu hadn't returned to report that Zhou had hatched the Earth Elemental Beast, so he didn't know about it. There's no need. Moses and the others aren't Zhou's match, Zhang Xiao said indifferently. That might not be the case, right? After all, Moses has a guardian. His strength can't be underestimated. Coupled with Charlie's Book of Prophecy, Zhou probably won't be able to escape so easily. Uncle Zhang didn't think so. Zhang Xiao said, So what if he's a guardian? What kind of figure is Old Master Xia? Even he can't kill Zhou, much less Moses, who only relies on a guardian. I'm afraid they will be doomed this time. Although Uncle Zhang didn't quite believe Zhang Xiu's judgment, he couldn't refute him. After all, Zhang Xiu's knowledge and judgment were far above his. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Zhang Xiu, who was the second son in the family, take over the position of celestial master and not him, the eldest. Zhou ran all the way. He didn't really want to escape, but he wanted to create the illusion that he was running for his life. Moses and company kept chasing after Zhou. With Charlie's book of prophecy to track Zhou's location, they got closer and closer. That bastard Zhou actually runs so fast. We have to speed up, Charlie said through gritted teeth. They had chased for hundreds of kilometers, but they still hadn't caught up to Zhou. It's just a cornered beast struggle. He can't escape. Boom! Just as Moses said that, a person on his left suddenly bumped into a tree. The tree exploded, sending the person flying. Several people nearby were affected. What's going on? Moses hurriedly went to check on the man's injuries and saw that he was only half dead. It's a life-bashing type essence energy skill. It must have been left behind by that bastard Zhou, Charlie said as he observed the destroyed tree. Damn it, Bay, stay behind and take care of them. Everyone else, continue chasing with me. I want that bastard to die without a complete corpse, Moses said angrily. Everyone chased after him again, but this time they were much more careful. They didn't touch the trees or grass at all. After chasing for a distance, they arrived at a patch of grass. Just as they approached, they alarmed the swarms of bugs in the grass. A large number of bugs flew up. No good. Be careful of those bugs. By the time Charlie shouted, it was already too late. Someone had already waved their hands at the bugs, hoping to chase them to the side. However, when their strength hit the bugs, it immediately triggered a series of explosions. As the bugs' life force wasn't high, the large number of bugs exploding together still left them in a sorry state. Some people who weren't paying attention even had their eyes injured from the explosion. Some people were drenched in blood from the explosion. In their panic, they stepped on the grass, causing it to explode as well. Immediately, it triggered a series of explosions. That bastard! Moses saw that many people were injured. Although they weren't very serious, they were in a sorry state. As they chased after Zhou, they realized that the forest here had turned into a huge minefield. Anything they touched could become a minefield. This made them suspicious. Not only were many people injured, but their progress was also much slower. If this continues, that bastard will escape. Those with flying pets, chase with me. The rest of you, take the official road and circle around. Let's see if we can intercept him. After Moses and Charlie discussed, the two of them continued chasing with the people with flying pets. Chapter 855. In the air, they didn't need to be afraid of skills like Life Blast. Moses and company sped up and chased after him. But when Charlie predicted Zhou's location again, he realized that Zhou was behind them. No good. Charlie and Moses' expressions changed drastically. This was because Zhou's current location seemed to be where they had separated from the others. Quick, go back. After Moses rushed back with his men, he discovered the corpses of his companions not far from where they had separated. They had been blown to pieces, and there were almost no complete corpses. The surrounding forest was also in a mess. Clearly, a powerful explosion had occurred. It wasn't an ordinary life blast. The self-destruction of ordinary trees didn't have such great power. Zhou, I'll tear you to pieces. Moses' expression was gloomy as he urged Charlie to continue tracking Zhou. This time, Moses directly summoned Giant God Sovereign. After he fused with Giant God Sovereign, the armor formed by Giant God Sovereign was still as huge. As for Moses, he was in Giant God Sovereign's body as the core existence of Giant God Sovereign's armor. Moses, who was like a giant, grabbed Charlie. He did not care if there were any life blast items nearby and directly charged over. Indeed, large swathes of trees and grass exploded, but it was useless against the giant armor formed by Giant God Sovereign. It couldn't injure it all. When Moses ran to the nearby water, tadpole-like things suddenly rushed out of the water. The tadpoles constantly exploded, forming a terrifying might. However, that kind of power was unable to injure Moses. The giant god's sovereign armor blocked it. These are the things that killed them. From the tadpoles' explosion patterns, Moses could tell that these were the things that had killed their companions. Joan, your tricks are useless in front of absolute strength. Come out and die, Moses said sinisterly. Charlie had already predicted that Joan was less than 5 kilometers away and could definitely hear his voice. Joan had already seen everything clearly with Truth Listener. He thought to himself, from the looks of it, Giant God Sovereign should be a strength type and defense type guardian. Tyrant Behemoth is also of the same type. It shouldn't be weaker than Giant God Sovereign. However, Moses is still so confident despite knowing that Tyrant Behemoth is in my hands. He probably has a way to restrain Tyrant Behemoth. Joan's figure flashed as he continued pulling away from Moses and company. However, after Moses put on the Giant God Sovereign armor, his speed was just too fast. Not only did Joan fail to pull away, but he was also pulled closer. Joan didn't mind. As he fled, he summoned a large number of musical note sprites and the golden harp. Now, there were tens of thousands of musical note sprites. Together with the golden harp's power, the sound waves produced were enough to kill an epic expert. Most importantly, it was very difficult for sound wave attacks to be completely blocked by armor. No matter how strong the defense of the giant God Sovereign armor was, it could still be penetrated and killed by the sound waves. Moses frantically chased after them with Charlie. Suddenly, he saw a large number of elven musical notes in front of him and a golden harp. Before he could react, the golden harp suddenly sounded. Buzz! With the sound of the golden harp, all the elven notes rang out. The sound waves they emitted were like a tidal wave that surged towards Moses. The sound waves failed to break through the giant God Sovereign armor. But Charlie, who was in Moses' hand, bled from his 7 orifices. His book of prophecy and cross couldn't defend against sound wave attacks. Moses was alarmed. A golden barrier lit up on the giant God Sovereign armor, protecting Charlie inside. Finally, Charlie had a way out. The sound wave attacks couldn't penetrate the barrier and were blocked outside. Just as Moses was about to destroy the musical note sprites and harp, he realized that the musical note sprites and harp that filled the sky had vanished. Moses rushed over at full speed, but he didn't find Joan. Where did Joan escape to? Moses asked Charlie. Charlie wiped the blood off his face and used the book of prophecy to predict Joan's location again. Impossible. He's right here. Charlie's eyes widened in disbelief when he saw the result of the prediction. At that moment, Joan's figure appeared above Moses out of thin air. The golden sword in his hand slashed at the golden barrier with an indestructible golden sword beam. Clang! The golden barrier was sliced open by 3 feet, but Joan's sword couldn't slash any further. The barrier wasn't as simple as a shell. It seemed corporeal inside. If not for the golden overlord sword having the augmentation of ever victorious and unstoppable, it would have been impossible for it to slice open 3 feet. You finally appeared. Moses wasn't alarmed, but delighted. He controlled the giant God Sovereign armor and threw a punch at Joan in midair. However, Joan's figure flashed in midair and suddenly vanished. Moses originally imagined that Joan was fast and had moved elsewhere, but when he scanned his surroundings, he didn't see Joan. Damn it! Why are all this fellow's skills so wretched? Where'd he go? Quickly find him, Moses said to Charlie through gritted teeth. Charlie used the book of prophecy to predict again, but he realized that Joan was already several kilometers away. He pointed in shock and anger and said, "He's over there. Don't let him escape." Moses relied on the nearly invincible ability of the giant God Sovereign armor. He didn't care if there was an ambush as he charged forward crazily. The tall trees were knocked away by the giant God Sovereign armor like he was a huge humanoid machine. Its defense can be compared to Tyrant Behemoth after activating absolute strength. but its strength is much weaker. However, in that case, it shouldn't be able to defeat Tyrant Behemoth. What kind of strength does giant God Sovereign have to make Moses so confident? Joan thought of all sorts of possibilities. From the looks of it, I can only let Tyrant Behemoth give it a try. When saw Moses chasing after him, he summoned Tyrant Behemoth. Not daring to be careless, got Tyrant Behemoth to activate absolute strength before charging at the charging Moses. Nice one. Moses finally had a target. Instead of slowing down, he increased his speed as he charged at Tyrant Behemoth. Tyrant Behemoth also gathered its strength and threw a punch at Moses, who was wearing the giant God Sovereign armor. A ruthless glint flashed in Moses' eyes. He didn't swing his fist to meet it. Instead, he used the giant God Sovereign armor with a golden barrier to slam into Tyrant Behemoth. Tyrant Behemoth's fist struck the golden barrier, but it failed to send Moses retreating. Instead, it was sent flying as its fist bone shattered. Rebound barrier. With his experience, Joan immediately saw through it. Tyrant Behemoth wasn't sent retreating by giant God Sovereign, but defeated by its own strength and giant God Sovereign strength. Chapter 856. Die. My giant God Sovereign is invincible. Moses controlled the giant God Sovereign armor and threw a punch at Tyrant Behemoth. Joan's heart stirred as Tyrant Behemoth returned to him. Since he knew that Moses' guardian was good at reflecting strength, a strength-type companion beast like Tyrant Behemoth wasn't suitable for battle. Without Tyrant Behemoth, how are you going to fight me? Joan, come out and die. I'll leave your corpse intact. Moses chased after Joan while using words to agitate him. Joan wasn't moved at all. As he moved rapidly, he thought of a way to kill Giant God Sovereign. Giant God Sovereign's defense wasn't weaker than Tyrant Behemoth's with absolute strength. It also had the ability to reflect strength, so it really wanted to break through the Giant God Sovereign armor's defense. It wasn't difficult to kill Moses, but it was useless to kill Moses. As an equal contract holder, Giant God Sovereign could still escape and choose someone else to contract. Joan's main target was Giant God Sovereign, not Moses. The only thing worth rejoicing over is that this Giant God Sovereign doesn't have the ability to transform into a terraform. There's still a chance of killing him, Joan thought. If it were an ordinary guardian, Joan would have long killed him with a sneak attack from the invisibility cloak. However, Giant God Sovereign's defense was just too strong. This wasn't a problem that could be resolved with a sneak attack. Moses got closer and closer to Joan. Just as he was about to catch up to him, killing intent burned in his eyes. Joan, you won't be able to escape. Don't waste your breath on him. Kill him and snatch the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg back, Charlie shouted with red eyes. With so many people dead, he finally had a chance to kill Joan. As long as he could kill Joan and snatch the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg back, everything would be worth it. Just as he was about to catch up to Joan, he suddenly saw Joan summon a companion beast. It looked like a huge pangolin, and Joan was riding on its back. They only knew that there was such an Earth Elemental Beast companion egg, but they didn't know what it looked like. Seeing Joan summon such a companion beast, he imagined that Joan wanted to risk his life. Moses didn't hesitate to throw a punch. Even Tyrant Behemoth couldn't fight Giant God Sovereign head-on, much less such an inconspicuous companion beast. Rumble. Moses punched down, blasting a huge crater in the ground, but Joan and the companion beast were nowhere to be seen. Could it be? Moses and Charlie both had a bad feeling. Turning his head, he realized that Joan was already dozens of meters away. Moses threw another punch. This time, he saw it clearly. The pangolin beneath Joan burrowed into the ground and vanished. When it and Joan appeared again, they were already 100 meters away. Earth Elemental Beast. He actually hatched an Earth Elemental Beast. How was this possible? Charlie shouted indignantly. No matter how strong Giant God Sovereign was, it was useless if he couldn't catch up to the Earth Elemental Beast. It was already impossible to kill Joan today, much less snatch the earth elemental beast companion egg. Even if he killed Zhou Wan, the companion beast that had already hatched would vanish with its master. Moses was also stunned. He didn't expect such an outcome. Count yourself lucky. Moses wanted to retreat when he saw that the situation was hopeless. Who said he can leave? Zhou Wan rode on the earth elemental beast's back and blocked Moses's path. If you didn't have the earth elemental beast to escape, you would have long been killed by me. How dare you say such words in front of me? Moses said coldly as he walked towards Zhou Wan, hoping to stomp him and the earth elemental beast to death. However, Zhou Wan remained unmoved as he summoned Tyrant Behemoth. At the same time, he fed Tyrant Behemoth the rejuvenation pills he had recently obtained to it, allowing its injured fist to quickly heal. What's the point of summoning a loser? No matter how many times he comes, he will just be sending himself to his death, Moses said. Zhou Wan didn't say a word as he continued summoning. He summoned Truth Listener, who had shattered 2 earrings. It descended like a ferocious beast as it glared at Moses. Is it another strength-type companion beast? It doesn't matter. Attack together. Moses didn't care. Zhou Wan continued summoning and summoned the great Might Vajra Bull and Torch Dragon. The bull and dragon surrounded Moses. That's Torch Dragon. That's Torch Dragon from the Zhuolu Temple. Charlie recognized Torch Dragon, and his expression changed drastically. Moses's expression turned nasty. Zhou Wan had actually summoned 5 mythical companion beasts alone. This was very rare among the 6 families. No matter how many companion beasts you summon, it's all the same to my giant God Sovereign. If you don't break through my defense, you will ultimately be defeated. Although Moses said that, he was no longer confident. However, Zhou Wan ignored him and continued summoning companion beasts. The golden overlord sword and golden battle god halberd appeared beside him, floating in the air. At the same time, the mythical Kuan Long and Zhun Long appeared. The 2 black dragons also joined the battlefield, surrounding Moses in the middle. That's the Metalwork Temple's golden battle god temple. The Zhuolu Underground Sea's black dragon. How is it possible? How can he have so many mythical companion beasts? Charlie's voice was already trembling. He had never seen a person have so many mythical companion beasts. Even though the 6 families had many more mythical companion beasts than before in recent years, it was already not bad for the core upper echelons to have one. Only top-notch figures could have 2 or 3 mythical companion beasts. Those with 5 or 6 mythical companion beasts were already considered the top combat strength in the family. They were the true pillars of the family. Now, Zhou Wan had summoned more than 10 mythical companion beasts alone. Furthermore, they included top terrifying existences like Tyrant Behemoth and Torch Dragon. How could Charlie not be alarmed? At that moment, Moses cursed in his heart. He never imagined that Zhou Wan, who wasn't even considered a direct descendant of the Yin family, would have so many mythical pets. Mythical companion beasts were summoned as though they were free. Moses was already regretting it. Although giant God Sovereign strength was powerful and its defense was almost invincible, who could guarantee that none of Zhou Wan's companion beasts could restrain giant God Sovereign? According to what Moses knew, the power of Torch Dragon's bright torch vision world could devour all living beings. Giant God Sovereign might not be able to withstand it. It's useless. No matter how many companion beasts you have, it's ultimately just a joke if you can't break through giant God Sovereign's defense. Moses' tone was no longer as confident as before. Is that so? Zhou Wan finally spoke. At the same time, he summoned 2 companion beasts. Charlie and Moses didn't know these 2 companion beasts, but from the looks of the 2 companion beasts, they were undoubtedly at the mythical stage. Zhou Wan summoned Dr. Darkness and Explosive Fiend Man. Of course, if you can break through giant God Sovereign's defense, why would you need to summon so many mythical companion beasts? Moses seemed to be speaking to Zhou Wan, but also to himself. Soon, you will know what's the use of so many mythical companion beasts. Zhou Wan waved his palm, and the terrifying mythical companion beast army charged at giant God Sovereign. Moses felt his scalp tingle when he saw so many terrifying mythical companion beasts rush over. But he had no choice but to bite the bullet and face the battle. However, how could a single giant god-sovereign deal with so many mythical companion beasts? Although Tyrant, Behemoth, and company couldn't break through giant god-sovereign's defense, it didn't stop them from rushing forward to hold down Moses, who was wearing giant god-sovereign's armor. Tyrant, Behemoth, and Truth Listener each held down an arm. The two black dragons each pulled a leg. Torch Dragon wrapped around its neck and knocked Giant God Sovereign down. Giant God Sovereign only had powerful defense, but in terms of strength, he was inferior to Tyrant Behemoth. He had no way of resisting so many mythical creatures at the same time. The great Might Vajra Bull stepped on his chest with its hoof as the golden Overlord Sword and golden Battle God halberd stabbed at his body. Although they failed to pierce through the barrier, they pressed him to the ground. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape. Charlie fell to the ground. Moses couldn't care less about him. He stood up and wanted to run, but he saw a scalpel suddenly appear and slash his throat. Dr. Darkness elegantly walked past him without looking back as he walked back to Zhou-Wen's side. Charlie covered his neck in horror, but blood kept flowing out from between his fingers. He widened his eyes and opened his mouth to say something, but only blood spewed out. Plop! Charlie's body fell to the ground dead. What a pity, Zhou-Wen said indifferently when he saw that the dead man tree didn't react. Zhou-Wen, it's useless no matter how many mythical companion beasts you have. You can't break through my defense. You can't injure me. Moses was suppressed by so many mythical companion beasts, but he wasn't injured. Although he couldn't move, he still roared. Why should I break through your defense? As Zhou-Wen spoke, Explosive Fiend Man had already walked over. Explosive Fiend Man, whose eyes flickered with an evil glint, pressed his palm on Giant God Sovereign's barrier, leaving strange marks on it that gradually covered every corner of the barrier. The time bomb skill could only be used on objects that couldn't resist. It was basically impossible to use it on a guardian like Giant God Sovereign, but now, Giant God Sovereign couldn't even move. What are you trying to do? Moses' face had already turned pale, and his eyes were filled with horror. Although he didn't know what the marks were for, he knew that something was amiss. Nothing. I'm just in a good mood. I want to set off fireworks to celebrate, Zhou-Wen said indifferently. Let me go. You bastard. Moses struggled with all his might. He already felt that something was amiss. Even Giant God Sovereign was struggling to escape as though he was terrified. However, it was useless. Under the suppression of so many terrifying mythical creatures, even Giant God Sovereign, who had a guardian body, couldn't escape. After all, it hadn't been long since it broke out of its cocoon. Although it was strong, it hadn't transformed into its terror form, so it didn't have overwhelming strength. More and more marks appeared on the golden barrier. They emitted a dangerous purple fluorescence that covered the entire barrier like a spider web. Finally, Zhou-Wen unsummoned all his companion beasts and quickly retreated. No, Moses finally regained his freedom. His first reaction was to take off the Giant God Sovereign armor, but it was already too late. Explosive Fiend Man snapped his fingers and there was a bang. Like a hydrogen bomb explosion, a golden sun rapidly expanded its radiation range with Moses at the center. Everything nearby that was devoured was instantly reduced to ashes. Chapter 857. As Giant God Sovereign's strongest barrier had been detonated by Explosive Fiend Man, the powerful force didn't even give Moses a chance to scream before he was reduced to ashes. Giant God Sovereign's body also exploded. With Giant God Sovereign's death, Zhou-Wen felt a strange force enter his body, prompting Slaughterer to evolve again. I'm finally going to evolve into a perfect body. Zhou-Wen heaved a long sigh of relief. He had killed several guardians. If he didn't evolve, Zhou-Wen didn't know where to find guardians to kill. Slaughterer, which enveloped Zhou-Wen's body, had always been an invisible existence. After advancing to an evolved body, Zhou-Wen could vaguely sense its existence and take the initiative to drive it. However, Zhou-Wen still knew very little about it. It was only limited to using immortal slaying to drive Slaughterer. This evolution gradually revealed the form of the Slaughterer. Although it was only a hazy silhouette, like a silhouette, it was many times stronger than before when it couldn't be seen or touched. As the shadow gradually appeared, Joan realized that this shadow was a little familiar, as though he had seen it somewhere before. He couldn't see its facial features or figure, but the aura seemed very familiar. Is it the woman in my hallucination? Joan suddenly recalled where he had seen this aura. The woman who defied the heavens and killed immortals and was worshipped by all races seemed to have this aura. When the evolution was completed, Joan could only see a silhouette. Slaughterer's appearance hadn't completely appeared, nor had it condensed a corporeal body. Joan looked at the information in-game and realized that Slaughterer had indeed advanced to a perfect body. However, its name and introduction hadn't changed. The only thing that made Joan feel that Slaughterer had indeed grown was that he could finally maintain contact with Slaughterer. He still had to slowly experiment to know its other abilities. That's it? Is this the final appearance of Slaughterer Life Soul? Joan looked at the projection in disbelief. Slaughterer's final appearance was a little too abstract. Although Joan wasn't willing to believe it, it was the truth. Perfect body was the final form of a life soul. It couldn't be changed anymore. After cleaning the battlefield, Joan rode the earth elemental beast with Ur again. This time, he wasn't in a hurry, but his speed wasn't slow. Furthermore, the path he took wasn't the path back to Luoyang. Joan didn't plan on returning to Luoyang now. He wanted to circle around and walk through the safer human zones so that fine dust could advance. After walking for less than 2 days, the speck of dust began to evolve. The speck of dust planet actually began to burn like a small sun, radiating a strange light. Although he didn't know if it had any other uses, the stat augmentation that fine dust gave him was much stronger than before. Glimmer, evolved body. The evolution of this sky-stealing, sun-shifting art is indeed easy. If I walk more, it shouldn't be difficult for me to reach a perfect body. However, that civilized country requires a large amount of spatial teleportation to evolve. What should I do? Joan couldn't think of a good solution. The Zhang family's mystic bird could quickly teleport, but the Zhang family had already hatched it. It was impossible for them to transfer it to Joan, and Joan didn't have enough benefits to move them. I'll take it one step at a time. Joan didn't idle on the way. He was studying the Demon God catalog, hoping to figure out what kind of essence energy art it was and how he could condense a life providence and life soul. It wasn't difficult to condense a life providence. Combining an essence energy art and one's talent, one should be able to succeed as long as one's perception was sufficient. However, a life soul needed a foundation. Typically, one needed a drop of a guardian's blood as a foundation. However, the guardian stats had to match the Demon God catalog. I wonder if the Thearch's blood can be used as the foundation of the Demon God catalog, Joan thought to himself. Up to now, Joan still couldn't figure out what kind of existence the Tharch was. He didn't know if she was a dimensional creature or a guardian, or perhaps neither. However, the Tharch was trapped in Chess Mountain, and the Demon God catalog was obtained there. The possibility of the two being compatible was naturally higher. It probably won't be that easy to obtain a drop of blood essence from the Tharch, but it's not completely impossible. Compared to the guardians who have to fight to obtain the blood, the Tharch should be negotiable. However, I don't know what price I have to pay. Joan didn't think too much about it. He wanted to condense the Demon God catalog's life providence first. When Joan walked, he only studied it and didn't practice it. This was because if he switched to another essence energy art, Glimmer wouldn't be able to obtain energy. When he stopped to gather information, he used his thoughts and insights on the Demon God catalog. In just a few days, he had obtained a huge improvement and condensed a life providence. Life providence. Demon Bloodline Joan felt that his basic stats were greatly augmented when he used the Demon Bloodline. Among all the life providences, the Demon Bloodline's augmentation to his physical stats was the strongest. From the looks of it, This Demon God catalog is very likely an essence energy art that corresponds to Constitution. The other essence energy art that corresponds to Constitution is the small perfection of wisdom. Its supreme Hell King life soul is already a perfect body. If I advance the Demon God catalog life soul to a perfect body, wouldn't my Constitution reach 41 points? Zhou was vexed about how he could obtain the Guardian's blood that corresponded to the Demon God catalog to condense a life soul. The Arch, are you interested in making a deal? Zhou planned on probing the Thearch's intentions. If he could obtain a drop of her blood, he could give it a try. How rare. You actually took the initiative to make a deal with me. Aren't you afraid of me to death and have been hiding from me? The Arch replied in a teasing tone. I'm not hiding from you. I'm just too busy and don't have the time. Otherwise, I would have gone to Chess Mountain to visit you, Zhou said casually. All right, come on. I'll wait for you, the Arch said. I'm near the South District now. I really can't return. When I return, I'll definitely visit you. Zhou then sent another message. Are you interested in the deal I mentioned? What do you want? The Arch asked straightforwardly. I want a drop of your blood essence. Zhou gritted his teeth and sent the message. He was still somewhat uneasy, unsure if the Arch would fall out with him. Chapter 858. Sure. The message from the Arch made Zhou overjoyed. What do you want? I'll exchange it with you, Zhou hurriedly said. Don't you want to see me? Then come. If you come to see me, I'll give you a drop of blood essence. I don't want anything else, the Arch replied. Zhou immediately felt depressed. He had only said it casually. He really didn't dare go to Chess Mountain to see the Arch. I really can't return now. Can I exchange it with something else? There are a lot of new and interesting things here. Shall I send some to you? Otherwise, I'll buy you any experimental equipment or equipment you want, Zhou said. I don't want anything. If you come, there will be blood essence. If you don't come, there will be nothing. The Thearch's reply left Zhou somewhat helpless. Then let's talk when I return. I can't fly back now. Zhou replied before switching off his phone. Typically speaking, when Guardians are in the cocoon, their bodies are filled with blood essence. When they come out of the cocoon, the blood essence will have already fused with their bodies. It won't be that easy to obtain blood essence again. Perhaps the Thearch's blood essence isn't suitable. After some thought, Zhou felt that it was best not to go to Chess Mountain. Since it's the Fey God catalog, the 9 black dragons are the Fey dragons. The protector they're guarding might be compatible with the Fey God catalog. Zhou opened the game and ran to the underground sea to obtain a drop of Guardian's blood. However, it was useless. The Demon God catalog couldn't absorb it. He went to Ant City to try again, but the outcome was the same. The blood essence of the 2 Guardians was useless against the Demon God catalog. However, this also meant that the Demon God catalog wasn't of the essence energy attribute. From the looks of it, this path doesn't work. Zhou could only think of other solutions to see if he could find other Guardians that hadn't broken out of their cocoons. Ding! As most of his life souls and primordial energy arts had reached a bottleneck, all Zhou could do was game and grind dungeons. This time, when he grinded the endless sea of stars, he had finished grinding the southern Vermilion Bird's 7 mansions. The 7 primordial energy skills were the same as the eastern Songdong 7 mansions, fused into 1 primordial energy skill. When used, a Vermilion Bird's shadow would surround him. Just like the eastern Songdong 7 mansions, it was in primordial energy shield type skill. The primordial energy skills level didn't increase. Could it be that I really have to gather all 28 Lunar Mansion skills to reveal its true power? Zhou had no choice but to continue grinding. The North's Black Tortoise 7 mansions and the West's White Tiger 7 mansions each lacked a skill, making them especially difficult to grind. Zhou had no idea how many times he had grinded them, but he failed to obtain them. Zhou deliberately grinded many more times. Perhaps it was because of his luck, he managed to collect all 7 primordial energy skills of the Western White Tiger's 7 mansions. The primordial energy skill with 7 combined skills was the same as Azure Dragon and Vermilion Bird. It was a protective, primordial energy skill, and its level didn't increase. Zhou made up his mind and tried his best to grind the endless sea of stars again and again. He insisted on grinding the last skill and wanted to see what would happen after he gathered all 28 Lunar Mansion skills. However, after grinding for nearly 10 days and dripping his blood to revive countless times, Zhou still failed to obtain the last Lunar Mansion skill. Thankfully, during this period, Zhou obtained another Demon Blood True Dragon companion egg. Its stats were almost identical to the previous two, but this one was a Qian dragon. Of the 9 Demon Blood True Dragons, Zhou already had Qian, Kuan, and Zhun. However, the 3 black dragons couldn't fuse. No matter how they matched, it would indicate that they lacked a main body. What the hell is this main body? Could it be that the Demon Blood True Dragon and the Wu Dragon Pearl is the main body of these 9 black dragons? Zhou guessed. However, it was useless no matter how he guessed if he couldn't obtain a Wu Dragon companion egg. Every time Zhou would refresh the dungeon, he would grind the baby tiger in passing. However, after grinding for so long, no companion eggs dropped. It was the same for some mythical creatures. It was very difficult for companion eggs to drop. Even if Qiongqi is the same as Torch Dragon, a companion beast with only one attribute, Qiongqi should have dropped one after grinding so many times, right? Or could it be that the way I grinded Qiongqi is wrong? Just like Medusa, Qiongqi needs a special method to drop a companion egg? After some thought, Zhou thought of a possibility. Could it be that someone with a ferocious life providence needs to kill Qiongqi before it drops a companion egg? With this possibility in mind, Zhou planned on giving it a try. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's life providence was extremely ferocious. However, it was still at the epic stage, so it was definitely unrealistic for it to kill Qiongqi. Thankfully, Zhou didn't have much else, but he had enough mythical companion beasts. He summoned a mythical pet legion and rushed into the Qiongqi temple. He surrounded Qiongqi and beat it up until it was on its last breath. Then, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General rushed over and struck again. After more than half an hour, it killed Qiongqi, who was on its last breath. Ding! Killed mythical creature, Qiongqi. Discovered companion egg. Will this really work? Zhou's mouth gaped open for a long time. He had only given it a try on a whim, but to his surprise, it really worked. If I had known this would happen, I would have dropped Qiongqi a long time ago. Why would I need to wait so long? Zhou sighed. Brute force was sometimes useless. Intelligence was the most important thing. Qiongqi, mythical, evolvable, life providence, punishes good and promotes evil life soul, partners with evil wheel of destiny, ferocious and evil strength, 81 speed, 81 constitution, 81 essence energy, 81 talent skill. Evil acts like the wind, innumerable evils, devouring flesh, Badlands companion form. Mount, a top-notch mythical mount. Zhou was delighted at first, but when he carefully looked at Qiongqi's skills and various abilities, his face darkened. This thing was a master that bullied the weak and feared the strong. When encountering evil people, due to the effects of the partners with evil life soul, not only would its stats be weakened, even its skills would be weakened. However, when it fought good people, it was ferocious. When it did good deeds, its stats would plummet. When it did evil, all its stats would increase greatly. It was an oddity. The skill that Zhou couldn't stand the most was barren hills and rivers. This skill was a passive skill that didn't have any lethality. Its only use was that wherever it was, it would cause the local feng shui to deteriorate, making people poor and evil. As its owner, he was naturally the first to bear the brunt. Sooner or later, he would become extremely poor and hungry, unable to even eat. If I had known it was such a thing, why would I have dropped it? Zhou was at a loss whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Qiongqi's companion egg. Incubate it. This thing was too evil. If he didn't incubate it, it was a top-notch mount companion beast after all. In terms of combat strength, it was also top-notch. It would be a pity to throw it away. Zhou looked at the companion egg with an uncertain expression. He was momentarily at a loss. Chapter 859. After hesitating for a long time, Zhou still couldn't make up his mind to hatch it. He first used the companion egg to match it with his pet. In fact, Zhou already wanted to throw it away. None of its skills and abilities made Zhou feel that they were particularly useful. They all had all sorts of flaws. The only thing that was more impressive about it was that it was especially ferocious when doing bad things. It was especially impressive when dealing with good people. If Zhou was a devil, Qiangqi would be an excellent grade monster apart from rough hills and wild waters. It could unleash extremely powerful combat strength. The problem was that Zhou didn't like to do bad things at all, nor did he plan on killing good people. With such a thing and the risk of being so poor that he had nothing to eat, Zhou really didn't want to hatch it. After watching for a while, he realized that Qiangqi didn't have high compatibility with the other companion beasts. Just as Zhou was about to decide to throw it away, he thought of the fiend-armored tiger soul general he had summoned and matched it again. The compatibility of 93% left Zhou somewhat surprised. Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. The compatibility between these two fellows is really astonishing. Zhou thought for a moment and felt that it wasn't easy for a mythical Qiangqi to drop. It was another top mythical creature with the ability to evolve. It would be a pity to throw it away. I don't think Jinx's master is of much use to me. Why don't I try fusing it? Perhaps there will be a good outcome after these two flawed companion beasts fuse. Even if it doesn't become better, it can't be that bad. Zhou placed the fiend-armored tiger soul general and Qiangqi companion egg on it and chose to fuse them. The 93% compatibility wasn't fake. As a supplementary ingredient, Qiangqi companion egg transformed into a stream of light and entered the fiend-armored tiger soul general's body. Soon, the fusion was completed. The fiend-armored tiger soul general that had successfully fused didn't seem to have changed much. However, the tiger beneath the tiger soul general looked a little like Qiangqi. Zhou hurriedly looked at its stats and thought, if only I can wipe out Jinx's master. Fiend-armored tiger soul general. Mythical, evolvable. Life providence. Fiendish fiend life soul. Tiger soul runes wheel of destiny. Fiendish strength. 81 speed. 81 constitution. 81 essence energy. 81 innate skills. Tempered steel furnace. Rampage. Magic stone curse. One with mount. Armor-piercing spear. Wicked deeds. Badlands. Jinx's master. Companion form. None. After seeing the fiend-armored tiger soul general stats, Zhou was dumbfounded. Its stats could be considered supreme grade. There was basically no way to make it stronger. This was the first time Zhou had seen a companion beast with 8 skills. Furthermore, there was a possibility of it improving further in the future. Perhaps it could transform into a terraform. Zhou could accept that Jinx's master was still around, but what the hell was that Barren Hills skill? It had actually fused with the fiend-armored tiger soul general. Jinx's master and the barren mountains and rivers. I'm afraid that I won't be able to kill him with a single strike. I'm afraid that I'll execute him by dismembering him. Zhou already had the urge to destroy the fiend-armored tiger soul general. However, on second thought, Zhou held back. After all, Jinx's master likely included poverty. It didn't matter if there were more barren lands. In the past, Jinx's master didn't work on him. There was no reason that another barren mountain and unruly river could do anything to him. I'll observe first. If I really can't hold on, I have to think of a way to destroy it as soon as possible. Although Zhou had this thought, he quickly unsummoned the fiend-armored tiger soul general and decided to try his best not to let it out. At the same time, Zhou summoned his baby tiger and got it to follow by his side to add some luck to him. After doing all of this, Zhou felt a lot more relaxed. As he carefully continued on his way, Zhou focused. Thankfully, nothing unlucky happened, allowing him to heave a sigh of relief. Glimmer's evolution was much more difficult than Fine Dust's. After walking for so long, Zhou realized that although Glimmer was growing, its growth was very slow. If this continued, he didn't know how many places he would have to walk to advance Glimmer to a perfect body. The path Zhou took was one that humans were still using. so he didn't encounter too much danger. On this day, Zhou rode the great Might Vajra bull and walked on a winding mountain road. At night, he failed to walk out of the mountainous area. There were still mountains in front of him. The winding mountain road was winding like a snake coiling around the mountain. As Zhou walked, he suddenly saw many trucks parked on the road in front of him. It looked like a convoy, but he didn't know why they were parked here. Typically, a convoy would stop at a fixed service area. It was impossible for them to stop on a winding mountain road in the middle of the night. Behind the convoy, there were many guards in military uniforms. When they saw the great Might Vajra bull, they jumped in fright. Immediately, many soldiers ran over from the front. Many soldiers raised their guns and aimed at the great Might Vajra bull. However, when they saw Zhou when sitting on the great Might Vajra bull's back, they heaved a sigh of relief. However, they didn't let down their guard. Dozens of guns were still aimed at Zhou and the great Might Vajra bull. "We are the Federation's transport team. Who are you?" A person who looked like an officer shouted at Zhou from afar. "I'm a student of Sunset College. I'm preparing to rush back to Luoyang." What happened here? Zhou didn't rush over rashly. He got the great Might Vajra bull to stop and ask the other party. For some reason, a large portion of the winding mountain road ahead has collapsed. Our cars can't drive over. We're trying to think of a solution. If you don't have the ability to fly, I'm afraid we can only change our route, the officer said. I have some ability to fly, but I can't fly too far. Can you let me go over take a look? Zhou said. The officer discussed with the person beside him for a while before saying to Zhou, "All right, you can come over, but put away your companion beast first." Zhou put away the great Might Vajra bull and walked over with Yer in his arms. "It's already very dangerous for a student like you to walk the mountain roads at night. Why are you carrying a child?" The officer said as he looked at Yer in Zhou's arms. Perhaps it was because of a little girl like Yer that they were willing to let Zhou approach the convoy. "The world isn't good. Her parents are gone, so I can only bring her to school," Zhou said. The soldiers revealed looks of pity as the atmosphere eased up. "This world." Sigh. The officer sighed and led Zhou forward. Indeed, a large portion of the mountain road ahead had collapsed. It was estimated that hundreds of meters of the mountain road had collapsed. The epic experts in the transport team were using flying pets to slowly transport the goods and cars over. However, as there were only 3 flying pets working, the amount of goods that could be transported at once was very limited, so progress was very slow. Zhou looked at the broken mountain road and couldn't help but frown. The mountain road had almost completely collapsed. Even the mountain wall had collapsed potholes. Zhou looked at it for a while and felt that the mountain wall didn't look like it had collapsed naturally, nor did it look like it had been smashed by a heavy object. It looked more like something had bitten it. Chapter 860. Zhou sized up his surroundings and looked at the map. He didn't discover any dimensional zones nearby. The nearest dimensional zone should be 60 kilometers away in a straight line. Is there a breakout creature? Zhou didn't dare be careless. He used Truth Listener's ability to search the vicinity, but he didn't discover any dimensional creatures within his hearing range. To be able to cause such damage, it should be very large. Why didn't I discover it? Zhou was puzzled. However, on second thought, it made sense. After such a thing happened, the transport team would definitely check the surroundings first. If there was such a large dimensional creature, it was impossible for them not to discover it. It was also impossible for them to move goods here in the middle of the night. "Young man, can you fly over?" The officer beside him asked Zhou. "It shouldn't be a problem at this distance," Zhou replied with a nod. "You have to be confident. Don't take risks with a child," the officer exhorted. "Thank you. I'm confident." After thanking him, Zhou leaped up with Yer in his arms. After borrowing a few times from the mountain wall, he arrived at the opposite mountain path. The students of Sunset College are indeed extraordinary. This movement technique is really impressive. If I had been able to get into Sunset College back then, I wouldn't have been a class monitor after so many years. The soldiers had already received the news and knew that Zhou Wen was coming. When they saw his movement technique, they said enviously, Zhou Wen didn't want to be too ostentatious. Otherwise, he would have flown over directly. He never expected such a movement technique to make the ordinary soldiers sigh in admiration. Was the road here already like this when you came? Zhou Wen asked one of the soldiers. That's right. When we were about 40 to 50 kilometers away, we heard a loud bang. Back then, we were wondering what had happened. When we arrived here, we realized that the road had collapsed, the soldier answered. 40 to 50 kilometers might be difficult to hear in other places, but this was a mountain road. The distance of 40 to 50 kilometers referred to the distance of the road. The actual distance wasn't that far. It won't take much time to reach here from 40 to 50 kilometers. If there really is a breakout creature, it shouldn't have gone too far in theory. Zhou Wen constantly used Truth Listener to scan. This time, Zhou Wen focused on the forest at the foot of the mountain. This was because Zhou Wen felt that the dimensional creature should be very large during the previous scan. It was impossible for it to hide in the forest. Moreover, there were no signs of damage to the forest, so it didn't seem like a huge beast had passed by. However, for safety's sake, Zhou Wen carefully scanned the forest. As there weren't any dimensional zones nearby, the forest below didn't undergo much mutation. The trees didn't grow too tall either. After scanning for a while, Zhou Wen imagined that he wouldn't find anything, but a creature suddenly swam over from the forest. The creature looked like a centipede. It was huge, and its body was probably the size of a bucket. Its upper body had a human chest, legs, and head. It looked extremely strange. It moved through the forest and was about to reach the broken mountain path. What dimensional creature is this? Was the mountain path destroyed by it? Zhou Wen didn't have time to think as he said to the soldiers, there seemed to be dimensional creatures in the forest below. Quickly get people to leave the fracture. Don't get too close. The soldier was taken aback. He looked down and didn't see anything. He used the walkie-talkie to pass Zhou Wen's words to the officer opposite him. The officer hurriedly got someone to carefully observe the situation below. While they were still observing, they saw the monster with a human body and a centipede tail crawl out along the mountain wall. There's a dimensional creature. Prepare to fire. The officer immediately gave the order to fire. Essence gold bullets rained down on the dimensional creature's body. The hard bullets seemed to have shot into rubber and were stuck in its body. The scary thing was that the bullets quickly melted into its body, as if they were absorbed by its body. Seeing that the essence gold bullets didn't have any effect, the epic officer ordered a giant eagle companion beast to attack the monster with a claw beam. The monster looked up and glanced at the giant eagle. Its eyes shot out a blood-red beam. When the giant eagle's body was touched by the beam, it immediately fell from the sky. While its body was still in midair, it had already melted into a pool of blood. The officer was alarmed. Their transport team had 2 epic creatures. In total, they had 5 epic companion beasts. With such strength, they could deal with ordinary emergencies if they didn't encounter mythical creatures. Now, an epic thunder eagle had been killed in a single exchange. This kind of strength seemed to have surpassed the epic rank. Retreat, retreat. The officer gave the order, but it was too late. Before the soldiers could board the vehicles, the monster had already climbed up the mountain wall. Its eyes suffused a red glow as the beam of light shot out, landed on a truck, melting it. Everyone's hearts were shrouded in a shadow. Having encountered such a terrifying dimensional creature, it was likely that they would be doomed. Retreat, retreat immediately. Captain Yin and I will provide cover. Everyone else, retreat immediately. Ignore the goods. Retreat immediately. As the officer roared, he summoned his companion beast to hold back the monster and cover the retreat of the others. The monster's body, which was dozens of meters long, climbed up the mountain wall as it let out a strange roar. Its glowing red eyes shot a red beam at the officer. The officer quickly dodged. At the same time, he slashed out a sword beam with an epic companion beast sword in his hand, hoping to slice through the monster's centipede-like body. However, just as he moved, the centipede-like body swept over, just as the countless centipede legs were about to grab his body. The officer's sword beam slashed at the centipede's body, but it shattered like glass before scattering in all directions. It failed to injure it. "It's over." The officer's face was pale. He was already trying his best to retreat, but the difference in speed was too great. He couldn't dodge the centipede's attack. Suddenly, a golden sword beam descended from the sky like a bolt of lightning, illuminating everyone's eyes. In the next second, they saw the golden sword beam cleave the monster's body into two from the middle. The monster split into two and fell to the bottom of the cliff. Only then did they see clearly that at the spot where the golden sword beam vanished, a figure was holding a golden sword in one hand and carrying a girl in the other. He was floating above the broken path. It was naturally Zhou. The officer and soldiers were dumbfounded as they looked at Zhou in disbelief. "Thank you for your help," the officer said as he saluted Zhou. "I'm afraid it's not safe here. There are other dimensional creatures. It's best you leave this place quickly," Zhou said as he summoned Tyrant Behemoth and made it gigantic. Tyrant Behemoth. That's Tyrant Behemoth. So Tyrant Behemoth isn't a companion beast from the West District. The soldiers immediately shouted when they saw Tyrant Behemoth. Chapter 861. Zhou ordered Tyrant Behemoth to help the transport team send their trucks and goods to the other side of the broken road. The truck was like a toy in front of Tyrant Behemoth. It could be picked up with one hand. Soon, all the trucks, goods, and people were transferred to the other side of the broken road. "May I know your name?" the officer asked Zhou. "Zhou." Then, he said to the officer, "Leave quickly. There's definitely not only one-dimensional creature here. There are even more terrifying existences. I'm afraid it'll be dangerous if you're late." The officer saluted Zhou and didn't waste any time. He immediately ordered all the soldiers to board the vehicles and leave with the goods. "Captain Jean, I never expected Tyrant Behemoth to be a companion beast of our East District. Furthermore, it's owned by such a young student." That Zhou was really impressive. Not only was his companion beast powerful, but so was his person. He had killed such a terrifying dimensional creature with a single strike. If our human students are as powerful as him, why would we be afraid of dimensional creatures in the future? The soldier beside him said excitedly to the officer. Jean Shurhao shook his head with a wry smile and said, "I'm afraid there might not even be 1 in 100 million people like him. It's just that they can't protect all of humanity. Our soldiers are just as important. That's why we have to work hard to become stronger. Even if we can't reach their level, we can still protect our compatriots who are weaker than us. Even if that's the case, I'm afraid we won't be able to obtain that kind of power in this lifetime," the soldier said with a sigh. Jean Shurhao scolded, "If everyone thinks like you, I'm afraid we humans will really be finished. We can't do it now, but that doesn't mean we can't do it in the future." Could the ancient humans imagine that one day everyone would own a mobile phone? In a peaceful era, would people think that everyone could hold a gun and fight? People like Zhou were pioneers of an era. One day, pioneers like them would bring powerful companion beasts, primordial energy arts, and primordial energy skills to everyone. When the time came, humans would truly change the world. We also have to work hard to become stronger. If one day that era really comes and we don't even have the ability to control those powers, then we'll really be finished. "Captain, I understand what you mean. By standing on the shoulders of giants, we can see further. But seeing it with my own eyes, it's still too shocking. He's clearly so young, yet he possesses such power. Is the difference in talent between humans really that great?" The soldier sighed. Zhou constantly scanned the forest below. The collapse of the mountain path was definitely not something the dimensional creature from before could do. There had to be stronger dimensional creatures nearby. However, he scanned the forest again and found nothing else. With a thought, Zhou put on the invisibility cloak and wrapped her in it before heading in the direction the centipede monster had come from. The forest was dense and gloomy under the moonlight. Zhou didn't enter the forest, afraid that something would happen. He directly flew over the forest. With the invisibility cloak on him and the earth elemental beast ready to fight at any moment. Zhou-Wen's escapability was already at its peak. Coupled with Truth Listener's ability, he could escape even if he couldn't beat him. He didn't discover anything along the way. Thankfully, the smell emitted by the centipede monster was still there. Zhou-Wen followed the smell and turned around a mountain before discovering something. There was a small mountain over there. The mountain was less than 300 meters tall, but it was rather steep. On the top of the mountain, there was a building that resembled an earth temple. There's actually an earth temple in such a place. Zhou-Wen was somewhat surprised. He observed the mountain and didn't find any stone steps leading up. Strange, there's no stone steps. How did the ancients build it? Zhou-Wen carefully sized up the earth temple and realized that incense was emitting from it. There was a wooden plaque hanging above the entrance of the small temple. On the wooden plaque were the words Mountain God Temple. So it's not an earth temple, but a mountain god temple. Zhou-Wen frowned slightly. If it was an earth temple, he didn't have to worry too much. This was because the earth temples in the East District were similar in nature. Typically, there wouldn't be much danger. He might even be able to obtain some benefits. However, mountain god temples were different. Mountain god temples were divided into orthodox and evil gods. The mountain god temples of orthodox gods were about the same as earth temples. They weren't that dangerous. However, it was hard to say for an evil god's mountain god temple. Some so-called mountain gods were actually demons that had turned into spirits in the mountains. There were good and bad demons, and their personalities were completely different. Because of their magical abilities, humans would worship them as mountain gods. However, these mountain gods might not protect humans. There were even many mountain gods who worshipped them because they slaughtered humans wantonly, making humans afraid. Although the mountain god temple on the hill wasn't considered big, it was built rather exquisitely. It was made of pure wood and incense smoke wafted out from it. As there were only the words Mountain God Temple, Zhou-Wen didn't know what the mountain god inside looked like. That centipede monster should have come from the mountain god temple. From the looks of it, the mountain god here is most likely an evil god. The collapsed mountain path probably has something to do with this mountain god, Zhou-Wen thought to himself. By focusing Truth Listener's power on the mountain god temple, Zhou-Wen wanted to know what was being consecrated in the mountain god temple. As a mysterious force enveloped the mountain god temple, he couldn't hear the situation inside. Now that Truth Listener was doing its best, the scene inside the mountain god temple gradually surfaced in Zhou-Wen's mind. The interior of the temple was simple. On an offering table was something consecrated. In front of the thing was a cigarette with incense inserted in it. There were candles lit on both sides. It was unknown who had offered the incense and lit the candles. When Zhou-Wen saw what was being consecrated in the temple, his expression turned odd. It's indeed a mountain god temple of an evil god. I've seen consecrated snake immortal, fox immortal, and yellow immortal. This is the first time I've seen one consecrated to a toad. Zhou-Wen looked at the mountain god temple and couldn't help but be curious. The one consecrated in the mountain god temple looked like a toad. The fat statue was sprawled on the table with its eyes closed, as though it was enjoying itself. Its entire body looked like it was made of bronze. There were many spots on its body, making it look ugly and ugly. If it were Zhou-Wen, he definitely wouldn't consecrate such a mountain god. However, after taking a closer look, Zhou-Wen felt that something was amiss. It looked like a toad as it lay there, but upon closer inspection, it was different from a toad. Just as Zhou-Wen was carefully observing it, he saw it widen its eyes and look at him. Sogu. Chapter 862. Zhou-Wen was wearing the invisibility cloak. Although he didn't use the invisibility ability, he was still invisible. The toad-like mountain god stared straight in Zhou-Wen's direction. Clearly he could see him. The mountain god looked at Zhou-Wen and opened its mouth to let out a strange cry. Zhou-Wen was alarmed as he quickly retreated. At the same time, he pulled out the golden overlord's sword to prevent any possible attacks. Zhou didn't discover a terrifying force rushing out from the mountain god temple, but his pocket throbbed before it stopped moving. What happened? Zhou was somewhat confused. He knew that something must have happened. He reached into his pocket, and his expression immediately turned odd. His pocket was as good as before, but the change inside was gone. There were only a few hundred yuan in total. Zhou had kept it on him as a spare to ride or buy some daily necessities. Now, not a single cent was left. It had vanished into thin air. Is it the doing of that mountain god? But how did it do it? As Zhou was alarmed, the mountain god called out to him again. Zhou hurriedly dodged. He didn't know what was going on with the mountain god's strength. All he could do was try his best to distance himself from the mountain god to prevent any more losses. Unfortunately, Zhou escaped too late. With a strange cry from the mountain god, Zhou felt his wrist lighten. The bracelet he had been wearing vanished. No good. Zhou was alarmed. The bracelet wasn't worth much, so it didn't matter if it was lost. However, there was a chaos bead embedded in it. There were many things in the chaos bead that couldn't be lost. Zhou immediately summoned Tyrant Behemoth and made it gigantic. It smashed its huge fist at the mountain god temple on the mountaintop, hoping to smash it apart. Boom! The toad-like mountain god temple rushed out. Its body rapidly expanded to the point that it was comparable to Tyrant Behemoth. Its head collided with Tyrant Behemoth's fist. It was unknown what its head was made of, but it was extremely hard. Tyrant Behemoth's fist seemed to hit steel, failing to injure it. Only then did Zhou see that although this fellow was ugly, it wasn't a toad. Its body was like a lion's, its feet were like a cheetah's, and its head was like a dragon's. Its body wasn't covered in spots, but coin-shaped scales. The scales with square holes in the shape of copper coins cover its body. When its body shrunk, it looked like the pimples on the body of a toad. This thing, could it be the legendary Pai Xiao? Zhou looked at its appearance and connected it to its abilities from before. He immediately thought of a legendary divine beast. Legend has it that the divine beast Pai Xiao was also known as Tian Lu by Xie and Hundred Solution. It was an auspicious beast that could drive away evil and avoid calamity. It fed on wealth from all directions, and it only swallowed and did not excrete. It could attract wealth and treasures, and it only entered and did not exit. It didn't exit. Anyone who wanted to get rich would rear a Pichio in one's home or shop. The more Zhou looked at this fellow, the more it resembled the legendary Pichio. In its battle with Tyrant Behemoth, its strength, speed, and constitution weren't at a disadvantage. With a bite at T and XT when sected it bet. Chunt. With a bite, it bit off a small hill beside it. Its combat strength was terrifying. Zhou ordered the golden overlord sword to slash at Pichio. He wanted to help Tyrant Behemoth kill it and see if he could retrieve the chaos bead from its stomach. Seeing the golden overlord sword fly over, Pichio opened its mouth and let out a strange cry. It sucked the golden overlord sword into its stomach. Holy *T, this fellow's abilities are a little sick. It can even devour a mythical weapon? Zhou was dumbfounded. He didn't attack blindly. Instead, he distanced himself from it and observed its battle with Tyrant Behemoth from afar. He wanted to find its weakness before attacking it. Tyrant Behemoth couldn't gain the upper hand. It roared and used absolute strength. Its powerful strength immediately suppressed Pichio as it punched it, causing it to roll around the mountain. However, Pichio's skin was coarse and its flesh thick. It was only slightly injured, so Tyrant Behemoth couldn't kill anytime soon. This infuriated Pichio. It opened its mouth as though it was a monster that could devour the world and let out a strange cry that sounded like a cow's cry. Zhou, who had already retreated far away, felt his body tremble. Some of his valuable items vanished. Even the accessories he had bought for vanished. What was even more exaggerated was that the ground below actually cracked open and a vein of gold appeared inside. A large amount of gold rushed into the Pai Xiao's mouth, making its body shine with a golden light, as if it was cast from gold. Clang, clang, clang. It was unknown if it was because it had devoured a large amount of gold, but Pichio was actually on par with Tyrant Behemoth, who had activated absolute strength. Even if it was inferior, Tyrant Behemoth couldn't severely injure it for a moment. Not long after, the golden light on Pichio's body dimmed significantly. Perhaps it was because it had used up all its strength from devouring the gold, or it charged out. Tyrant Behemoth chased relentlessly from behind. After chasing several mountains, Pichio roared again. The ground cracked open, revealing a silver vein beneath. Large amounts of silver flew into Pichio's mouth, causing its body to emit a silver glow. Its combat strength increased once again as it fought Tyrant Behemoth. Thankfully, Tyrant Behemoth had never been afraid of anyone in melee combat. It fought Pichio crazily, causing the surrounding mountain walls to collapse. Huge craters appeared in the ground, and large swaths of the forest were destroyed. Before long, the silver light on Pichio's body dimmed again. It fled towards the mountains again. Not long after, it found another copper mine and devoured the copper ore again to fight Tyrant Behemoth. After fighting for so long, the light on Pichio's body slowly dimmed. Tyrant Behemoth's absolute strength was also up. The two ferocious beasts were past their peak, but they still fought exhausted. They looked extremely ferocious. This fellow has the ability to devour wealth and sense wealth. As long as I have something related to wealth on me, I'll be sensed when I approach it. If I want to kill it, I can only do so lightly. With a thought, Zhou first sent Ye to a safe place before placing all his valuable items beside her. Then, he put on the invisibility cloak and used his invisibility ability to secretly approach Pichio. Zhou didn't use the light concealment sword. Such a sword could also be considered wealth. If Pichio discovered it and devoured it, it would be even worse. He approached Pichio from behind, and indeed, he wasn't discovered by it. Zhou didn't use a weapon. All he did was summon Dr. Darkness and let him fuse with him as a soul. Sogu. Chapter 863. After fusing, Zhou had already arrived behind Pichio. The eyes of penetration activated, allowing Zhou to see through Pichio's body. The golden overlord sword had already been melted and absorbed by Pichio. It left Zhou's heart aching. Such a divine weapon had been destroyed by Pichio just like that. The gold, silver, and copper ores that it had devoured had mostly melted. Thankfully, Zhou saw that the chaos bead hadn't been melted and absorbed. However, the bracelet had disappeared, leaving only a bead. Thankfully, the chaos bead is still here. Zhou took the opportunity. While Pichio was fighting Tyrant Behemoth, he suddenly used Dr. Darkness's Wheel of Destiny. Darkness' right hand activated as Zhou's right hand reached into the back of Pichio's head and stirred it ruthlessly, stirring up a huge chunk of its brain. As its body was too large, Darkness' right hand couldn't pluck out its entire brain. All it could do was try its best to destroy it. Pichio let out a tragic cry. Tyrant Behemoth took the opportunity to press it to the ground and ride on its body as it punched out crazily. Zhou didn't idle either. He used the remaining two Darkness right hand abilities consecutively, messing up its brain. There was something wrong with Pichio's brain. It no longer had the ability to resist. With Tyrant Behemoth constantly striking its chest, its struggle became weaker and weaker. Seeing that it could no longer open its mouth to absorb wealth, Zhou summoned the light concealment sword and slashed its neck. Tyrant Behemoth's claws reached into the wound and tore it open. Finally, it tore off its head. A divine beast was finally dead. Zhou summoned Truth Listener and got the mini Truth Listener to burrow into its stomach and take out the chaos bead. Soon, Truth Listener burrowed out again. One claw held the chaos bead, and the other claw held something. Zhou took a careful look and saw that the thing Truth Listener had pulled out were 3 copper coins tied by a red string. The copper coins were round on the outside and square on the inside. As they were too old, the patterns and words on them could no longer be seen clearly. They were strung together by a red string and didn't look eye-catching. But this thing in the stomach of the Paisho, it was not digested and absorbed, obviously not an ordinary thing. Truth Listener placed the chaos bead and copper coin in Zhou Wen's hand. Zhou Wen took the copper coin and looked at it. He didn't find anything special about it, so he put it away before using his penetrative eyes to look at Pisho's body. There are no companion eggs or dimensional crystals. Zhou Wen couldn't help but feel disappointed. Pisho's abilities were very special. It would be nice to obtain a companion egg. Unfortunately, Pisho didn't drop anything. He even lost the golden overlord sword, making Zhou Wen feel like he had suffered a huge loss. From the looks of it, I have to think of a way to fuse a weapon similar to the golden overlord sword, Zhou Wen thought. However, Ever Victorious was too difficult to grind. The success rate of fusion wasn't high either. The possibility of fusing an identical golden overlord sword was very low. Thankfully, Zhou Wen didn't have obsessive-compulsive disorder. All he needed to do was fuse Ever Victorious and Unstoppable onto a single weapon. I wonder if I can fuse those skills into the light concealment sword. Zhou Wen only had that thought. He could only slowly attempt it in the future. After searching his surroundings and not discovering any other dimensional creatures, Zhou Wen left with There doesn't seem to be anything special about these copper coins. Why haven't they been digested by Pisho? On the way back, Zhou Wen kept studying the 3 copper coins, but no matter what essence energy art he used to inject essence energy into them, he couldn't activate them. Apart from being harder than ordinary copper coins, Zhou Wen couldn't tell what use they had. I should think of a way to get a weapon first. Zhou Wen still had a mutated Overlord snake that he had previously obtained. It had the ever-victorious skill. Unfortunately, when Zhou Wen matched it with the light concealment sword, the compatibility was pitifully low. It was less than 20. The Golden Battle God Halberd and the light concealment sword's compatibility wasn't high either. It was only 31. Zhou Wen didn't dare randomly fuse such a success rate. It doesn't seem realistic to fuse these 2 skills into the light concealment sword. What if I fuse them into a sword-type companion beast before fusing them with the light concealment sword? Zhou Wen decided to give it a try. After grinding the ancient sword tomb for so long, no other mythical swords appeared. However, there were quite a number of epic and legendary swords. Zhou Wen used those swords to match the Overlord Snake and the Golden Battle God Halberd and quickly found one with a higher compatibility. He first used a sword to fuse with the Overlord Snake, but the fusion failed due to the high compatibility of 63. Then, he used the Golden Battle God Halberd to fuse with another epic sword. This time, the fusion succeeded, but the ever-victorious skill was gone. Why is my luck so bad? Zhou Wen thought of the Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General's new Barren Hill skill and felt somewhat uneasy. Don't tell me that skill really works. I suffered quite a loss on this trip. Without the Golden Battle God Halberd and mutated Overlord Snake as materials, it was impossible to fuse them. Zhou Wen had no choice but to temporarily abandon his previous plan and wait until he obtained companion eggs in the future. Along the way, Zhou Wen focused his attention on the endless sea of stars and the ancient sword tomb. He wanted to obtain the complete 28 Lunar Mansion skills in the endless sea of stars, and he wanted to obtain another mythical sword in the ancient sword tomb. The light concealment sword was very powerful when used for assassination, but it wasn't suitable for head-on combat. Zhou Wen still needed a weapon for frontal attacks. It was unknown if his luck had really turned bad. After grinding for a few days, nothing he wanted dropped. Instead, he obtained quite a number of useless companion eggs. Since he had a shop to advance the Glimmer Life Soul, Zhou Wen took a detour to the Founding Emperor tomb. He wanted to see if there was a tiny palm symbol to download the Founding Emperor tomb dungeon. Before arriving at the Founding Emperor tomb, Zhou Wen saw a bustling market that resembled a small town. Many people were hawking dimensional crystals and companion eggs produced in the Founding Emperor tomb. There were many unique companion eggs in the Founding Emperor tomb. For example, the Bronze Man and Earth Elemental Beast that Zhou Wen had previously seen came from the Founding Emperor tomb. However, The founding emperor tomb that humans knew was actually only the periphery of the tomb. They couldn't enter the tomb at all. If the founding emperor tomb was a huge underground city, then the area that humans had come into contact with wasn't even at the city gate. Apart from the legendary 6 heroes, no one had entered the real founding emperor tomb. Zhou Wen was just about to pass through the market and head to the periphery of the founding emperor tomb to search for the tiny palm symbol when he saw a commotion in the market. A group of people were huddled together for some unknown reason. After paying some attention, Zhou Wen realized that Lu Yun was in the crowd and was arguing with an old man. Lu Yun won't wake up if there's nothing to gain. What is he doing here? Zhou Wen's interest was piqued. He found a corner where no one was paying attention and secretly observed Lu Yun's every move. Chapter 864. Zhou Wen watched from the side for a while before finally understanding what Lu Yun and the old man were arguing about. Lu Yun insisted on buying the old man's bronze sword, but the old man refused to sell it no matter what. One insisted on buying, while the other refused to sell. Hence, they quarreled. It wasn't that the old man really wasn't selling, but that the old man insisted on using the bronze sword to exchange for a mythical companion beast. Otherwise, he wouldn't sell it no matter how much money he offered. The old man even said that his bronze sword was dug out from the founding emperor tomb before the dimensional storms. It was the founding emperor's sword. No one believed him. Even if it was really the founding emperor's sword, it wasn't worth much in this era. It was at most an antique. However, the old man insisted on using the sword to exchange for a mythical companion beast. It was unknown what Lu Yun was up to. He insisted on buying the sword, but he couldn't produce a mythical companion beast. Something's wrong. How can a thick-skinned fellow like Lu Yun buy a sword so honestly? It's even more impossible for him to make a ruckus here. If he really wants the sword, he should secretly steal it. What is this fellow trying to do? Zhou Wen thought to himself, I'll give you 3 epic bronze man companion eggs in exchange for your sword. How about that? Lu Yun said to the old man, I won't exchange even if you give me 10, much less 3. The old man was very stubborn. He hugged the bronze sword and refused to let go. His neck was harder than a steel pipe. When others heard that Lu Yun wanted to use 3 bronze man companion eggs to exchange for such a crappy bronze sword, they were alarmed. How about 5? This is all I have, Lu Yun said as he placed 5 companion eggs in front of the old man. Everyone was alarmed when they saw this. There were very few locals who didn't know bronze man companion eggs. Even if they hadn't personally held them, they had definitely seen them. The 5 companion eggs that Lu Yun took out were undoubtedly bronze man. Bro, you have 5 bronze man companion eggs. You can exchange them for anything good. Why do you insist on exchanging them for his crappy sword? Someone beside him said. Everyone echoed. Bronze man companion eggs were very famous, but there weren't many of them produced, so their prices were very high. To be able to take out 5 at once was something that even the elderly who had been setting up a stall here had never seen before. Nothing else. I just like that sword. I think it might be a treasure, Lu Yun said casually. Of course it's a treasure. If you want it, you can exchange it with a mythical companion beast. Otherwise, it's useless no matter what you say, the old man said firmly. Everyone felt that there was something wrong with Lu Yun and the old man's brains. Lu Yun was a prodigal, and the old man was a fool. Bro, I have a sword similar to his. If you want it, I'll sell it to you for 5 bronze man companion eggs. A burly man squeezed over and looked at the 5 bronze man companion eggs on the ground. He swallowed his saliva and said, That's right. I want a treasure sword dug out from the founding emperor tomb. Do you think I want any sword? Lu Yun curled his lips. I don't like hearing that. This sword of mine was dug out by my great-grandfather from the founding emperor tomb, the man hurriedly said. Really? Lu Yun looked at the sword in his hand in disbelief. Indeed, the 2 ancient swords were very similar. They were slightly different, but overall, they were likely works from the same period. Of course it's real. It's definitely more real than that old man's, the burly man said as he patted his chest. However, the old man said coldly, Don't be greedy. If you are greedy, you will suffer a huge loss. What's the point of buying a fake with 5 companion eggs? Old man, who are you calling a fake? Yours is a fake, the burly man said angrily. However, Lu Yun laughed and said to the old man, don't tell me you regret it. It's too late for you to regret it now. If I don't buy your sword, let's see who else will pay such a high price. With that said, Lu Yun pushed the 5 companion eggs towards the burly man and said to him, regardless of whether you are real or fake, I'll buy yours. Let that old bastard regret it. The burly man was overjoyed as he hurriedly put away the bronze man companion egg. He was still worried, so he got someone to help him appraise it. After confirming that it was a bronze man companion egg, he handed the ancient sword to Lu Yun. Old man, take your time regretting it here, Lu Yun said as he left. Zhou put on the invisibility cloak and secretly followed. Lu Yun didn't go to the town. He turned a corner and ran to a nearby forest. He sat on a tree root and smoked. After a while, he saw the old man who had sold the sword sneak into the forest. When Zhou saw the old man, he immediately understood that the two of them were in cahoots. They had done so much to make the burly man sell his sword. The burly man was a freelance hunter who had entered the dimensional zone. He wasn't a vendor. They definitely wanted the burly man's sword, but it wasn't convenient for them to buy it from Lu Yun. Therefore, they had set up such a trap. What's that ancient sword? Is it worth Lu Yun spending so much effort on it? Zhou secretly sized up the ancient sword in Lu Yun's arms. How is it? Is it real? The old man asked Lu Yun after entering. That's right. It's real. With this sword, we can enter the founding emperor tomb, Lu Yun said. Let me take a look, the old man said as he reached for the sword. However, Lu Yun retracted his hand and didn't let the old man touch the sword. He said with a smile, why are you in such a hurry? Didn't we agree that I'll hold the sword and open the door? When we enter, we'll split the items equally. The sword is in my hands. Don't worry, there won't be any mistakes. I'm just afraid that you will be cheated. I'm helping you see if it's the real Emperor Qin's sword, the old man said without a change in expression. I, Lu Yun, have been lying to others all my life. No one can lie to me. Don't worry. Lu Yun held the ancient sword and asked the old man, when do we take action? The sooner, the better. If you're ready, we'll take action tonight, the old man said. All right, it's settled then. We'll meet outside the founding emperor tomb tonight, Lu Yun said as he turned to leave. The old man watched Lu Yun's back disappear before turning to leave. Zhou secretly watched the old man leave and fell in a deep thought. He had a nagging feeling that the old man was somewhat familiar, as though he had seen him somewhere before. However, he didn't seem to have any impression of his face and figure. This old man, could he be Jing Daoxian? An idea suddenly flashed in Zhou's mind as he recalled why he felt a sense of déjà vu. This was because the aura this old man occasionally revealed was very similar to Jing Daoxian's, but his appearance and figure were different. It shouldn't be difficult for Jing Daoxian to change his appearance and figure. I think he's most likely Jing Daoxian. However, why is he with Lu Yun? Why do the two of them want to enter the founding emperor tomb? Zhou was filled with curiosity. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.